Hello, Curvies. Hey, Curvies. Thanks for coming through. Happy Friday, y'all. Happy Friday. Thank you for coming to Larger Curves today. I know y'all miss me. My mom got COVID, so I've been doing things about that and super duper busy with my business and growing new business and, just really trying to diversify streams of income and get my family secure and set up, and create this legacy empire that we're working on over here. And but of course, I love you, Curvies, and I missed you. And please smash that like button, smash the subscribe button on your way in today. If you haven't already, go ahead and ring my bell, so you can get notified when I upload videos, and so you can become part of this beautiful curvy community that we're growing in the YouTube streets. Now, let me make sure we can hear me. Microphone check, microphone checker. Let me see what's going on right now. Go to my channel. Hit this. Oh, wait. Okay. So we're going to talk about it today. I do owe you guys Dubai later, but I haven't even watched it yet. Let's see. Okay. Well, it looks like we're going to be playing some copyrighted something. Maybe I can listen to it and comment without showing it to you, because part of the reason I was a little late today was because I was getting this reel together for us. But I just got a notice that the specific part from Vice that I wanted to use is copywritten, and it won't let me get monetized if I show it, but it is proof that people have been asking for. They're like, well, where's all the black men that Kamala locked up? Well, I got the main one for you. And you know what else I could do? Well, maybe I could leave a link to the actual video in the description. That's what I might have to do. Thanks for coming through, Miss Kiki. You're number one. Happy Friday. Happy Friday. Now, I know we usually talk about all the stuff over here on Larger Curves, but yeah, there, we can hear me fine. But I'm really feeling like under pressure about this whole voting thing, and people that I love and respect telling me that I'm wasting my vote if I use it to vote for who I want instead of go along with the sheeple. And that's what I'm calling them. If you calling me a waster, I'm calling you a sheeple at this point, because I have some things for us to look at. We're going to look at Kamala's policies, because people have been like, oh, well, why are you guys talking about if she's black or not? We're not talking about it. She brought it up. We're just mentioning what she brought up and her lack of consistency in how she identifies herself. She's the one that does one race at a time and then throws in a nationality. And then we comment on it, and we're the bad person. We're bad for pointing out that she's confusing. And we all know that the devil is the author of confusion. So how are we bad for pointing out that she's confusing, for being inaugurated as the first Indian something, no mention of her blackness, and then now she's the first black something, hardly mentions her Indianness. So she's the one that's doing it. She's the one that's allowing it to happen. I would have been super clear from day one. As soon as somebody called me just one thing, if I was a biracial person, which I have a little quarter of stuff in me, but if I was a full like biracial person and didn't want anyone confused about my stance on self-identity, then one of the clips we're going to look at is of when Kamala accepted her Senate seat. She said that she was the first Indian. Let me refresh this. She said that she was the first Indian. She didn't correct that woman in that interview and say, "Oh, I'm the first biracial and I'm half Indian and half Jamaican." She didn't say that. She just let it stick that she was the first Indian. So let me see. It's saying copyright issue. So we can listen to it. I'm going to pull it up though, because we're going to start with this. And we're just going to look at Kamala's own reel about herself. You're right, Miss Kiki. That's what votes are for us to vote for who we want. We cannot allow ourselves to be pressured or bullied or anything like that. Yep, and I won't let them pressure, but I feel under pressure because people I love are like, oh, yeah. You know, so, and that's not the case. So I'm going to pull this up and then we'll pull up some articles that I have. And then we're going to look at, is she paying celebrities? Kai Cent, the Twitch guy, came out and said that the Secret Service has been in his DMs and trying to get him to endorse her, and he doesn't want to. And then people were mad at him that he doesn't want to endorse somebody. He's busy playing Fortnite, y'all. He does not have to participate if he doesn't want to, nor does he have to be bullied into endorsing people that he doesn't give any true care for. Mademoiselle is in the house. Right on. Thanks for coming through. I don't believe anything Trump says, but for whatever reason, I believe him about Kamala. She says whatever is expedient for her career. Oh my gosh, spot on. So here, I'm going to share this screen. Copyright disclaimer. Under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976, allowance is made for fair use purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. So today we will be researching and commenting on who this vice president is, who the presidential nominee is, just so we can be better educated about like the choices, because you can actually Google and find your answer for everything. You can Google a positive answer for what you're looking for. You can Google and find a negative answer for what you're looking for. But when I just do a general Google and things like this come up, I feel like we need to share it. So like I was saying, under Section 107, we're made for research. Fair use is permitted by the copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. So this is personal use and educational. So it is tipping in the balance of fair use. Let me change this banner real quick. We love your support over here on Larger Curves. Thanks for coming through. Smash the buttons. Beat that heart. Engage. Love you guys. Thanks for being here. Okay, so I'm going to let this play so we can hear what Kamala, she's the one that's switching back and forth. Don't shoot the messenger for being able to go back and get the messages that are digitally archived. Don't shoot the messenger. Don't ask me, why am I doing this? Y'all need to be asking your choice, if she's your choice, why is she doing this? That would be the real question. Somebody needs to sit Kamala down and be like, why are you doing this? Why are you making it so confusing? Why didn't you just... Anyway. Hey, Voice Twin, what's good? Yeah, I'm not a Kamala fan. Hope I don't offend. But look, here, let's go.
She won the U.S. Senate seat from the state, becoming the first Indian American to achieve this feat.
And certainly you could become the first Indian senator in U.S. history, which would be quite an accomplishment.
Not good.
California's Kamala Harris is the first Indian American U.S. senator.
And California's Attorney General Kamala Harris has scripted history as she won the U.S. Senate seat from the state, becoming the first Indian American to achieve this feat.
Straight up, you talk out two sides of your neck.
And that was the perfect segue from that comment of Kamala not correcting either of those people on her identification, not correcting either of them, and letting it be known in those moments, in those real-time moments when she's being touted the first Indian senator. Let me see. Let me ask this question real quick. Let me see. Okay, so
This answer is from Wikipedia.
What also is interesting is that we just heard her say, "Oh, I'm the first Indian senator in history of California," you guys. Did you guys know that there have been no black senators in California? And that's part of why when Dianne Feinstein left, they were supposed to give the seat to one of the Barbaras and she didn't get it. And no, did she not get it? Yeah, she didn't get it. And that was like, so we could finally have a black senator. And that's what Gavin Newsom said. Gavin Newsom said he was going to make sure that when Dianne Feinstein left from California's Senate seat, which she was just bodysuit holding, as soon as she stepped down, he was going to be placing Barbara Lee there, I believe her name is Lee, so that she could be the first black senator. That was his words. But now if you Google, ask Suri, who's the first black senator for California, it says Kamala Harris. But she herself said that she was the first Indian senator of California. I would have been, if I was the first two of something, I would have been like, oh, and make that the first black one too. Oh, I'm not only the first Indian senator, I'm not only the first Indian AG, I'm also the first black AG woman. I'm also the first black woman senator, along with being the first Asian. Like, I just don't understand why she didn't do that. It would have been so simple. But I feel like her deciding to play one or the other makes people feel like she's code switching and bait switching and puts her blackness on like a costume. Also, Jamaica is a nationality, it's not a race. And her father didn't identify as black. He identified as like European Irish or something like that. And Kamala's great granddaddy over in Jamaica was a slave owner, y'all. Look it up. Brownstown is still in freaking Jamaica. And it was founded by the Irish European guy who came over there and freaking settled that town with slaves. And yeah. And then we see a picture of a very dark-skinned woman who was her grandmother. But she also could be Indian too. Anyway, I don't know. I just think that it's interesting that she herself makes it so confusing. You guys might not want to hear from Amanda Seales, but I actually happen to agree with Amanda Seales on the things that Kamala says. I don't know if you guys are familiar with word salad, but if you think 45 is incoherent in his speeches, I just beg you to do a couple of rewinds and see if you can make hide or hair sense of what Kamala is really saying in some of her interviews. It's like talking in circles, word salad, not answering questions. She's perfect for politics and for being a lawyer, y'all. But I don't think she's perfect for being a president. Let's listen real quick to what Amanda Seales said a couple weeks ago, where she got so much flack for speaking her independent, free thinker mind. I encourage more people to speak their free thinking minds. I encourage more people to step outside of their sheeple skin and really be willing to take the heat. If you know you're going to get heat just because you're not voting for either, just take the heat. Don't let people bully you for having an independent, free thinking mind. I commend Amanda Seales for having the chutzpah to say the things that she says on the platform that she has. It takes a lot of courage to speak truth to power.
We don't know what you're talking about. I wouldn't be surprised if it's Kamala Harris who's trying to shut me the fuck up. Because I told her straight up that I feel like she is disingenuous in her messaging. And she said to me, well, you're being too critical. And I said, I am a voter. I'm supposed to be critical.
I agree with Amanda. When did all these snowflakes start running for office? Soft serves. Just got that term from Dr. Heavenly earlier on the thing. Softs. Yes. So I'm like soft serves all day. Soft serves all day. Look, you have to decide whether or not you're going to push a button that could end all life, and you're concerned whether or not Amanda is asking you hard questions for you to explain yourself, ma'am. And then they always want to pretend like you're attacking them. Oh, you're attacking my professionalism. You're attacking my... I'm asking you a MFing question, lady. All I'm asking for is a further detailed explanation of WTF you just said, lady. That's realtor. And if you are going to get the keys to the kingdom and get to assign things away with the swipe of your pen, we need to know how you really feel. Where do you really stand? What are your real policies, Kamala? Besides arguing with people that want to question your reality. Let's continue.
That's my job. And I want to see actions. She said, well, how am I supposed to talk about racism in America without calling Americans racist? I said, well, first of all, there are many racist Americans. But there's also policy, legislation, institution, and systems that are racist that need to be addressed. They need to be addressed. And if you're not going to do that in an actualized way and in a loud, bold way, people will never really know where you're coming from. Well, you can't tell me how I feel. So I'm not telling you how you feel. I'm telling you how you sound. I'm telling you how you sound.
Success?
Okay?
Oh, you're going to call you back or something? Oh my gosh.
The truth is that you should always question your source and what are their intentions. And what you all need to know is that I don't need to do any of this. I don't need to talk about any of this.
She's right. Like, we don't have to talk about any of this, but I enjoy dissecting what I see as gaslighting. Like, I just feel like Kamala is trying to gaslight me. I feel like the DNC is trying to gaslight me, pretending like this is normal. This is normal for Americans to not even get to hear all the different ideals that could shape the next 4 years in America. It's like they're trying to force us to deal with these two devils. And I'm not with it.
I don't seek fame. I don't seek wealth. I have dual citizenship. I don't even have to be here. I don't need any of this. I'm a gifted painter. I could literally just leave all of this behind and just sell paintings. And the people that you should listen to are people who literally gain nothing. They gain nothing from the efforts that they do to give everything. Pull up footage from over a year ago that could possibly undermine the validity of her being president. Why would someone who's for Kamala Harris do that when the person that they're talking about isn't even expressing that sentiment in the present? But y'all never, the people who support shit like this, their cognitive thinking doesn't what Black people hope to be our soon to be.
Okay. So I see your guys' comments. I get this, Kiki. I'm so with it. All right, she's biracial, but honestly, from the beginning, would have been helpful. Would have been totally helpful. Like you pulling out that you went to a HBCU doesn't mean a lot, because we also know that, where is it? Did I leave it in? Mindy Keeling's brother. Did I leave it on here? Mindy Keeling's brother from that show, Mindy, he wrote a book and laughs about how he passed for Black as an Indian so he could get the affirmative action into medical school that he didn't even finish. And then he wrote a book about blackfishing. So particularly the Indian culture has history, empirical fact history of blackfishing. And why blackfish? Because in Indian culture, there's a caste system, and the darker you are literally determines where you're going to work for life. It can determine where you're going to work for life. And people with Kamala's coloring could maybe own a restaurant or something. I'm not sure if she would be able to get a high job, because the lighter you are, the more opportunities you have in her own mother's Indian culture. And in her book, her autobiography, Kamala said that her mother chose to raise them in Oakland because she knew they would be seen as Black. And if somebody's Black, then why wouldn't they just say because she's Black? Why wasn't Kamala's mother's statement, oh, well, I decided to raise my daughters in Oakland, and it wasn't even raised. They were there till she was 5, and then she moved to Canada. She moved to Canada, you guys. So I don't know what preschool was bussing kids in, but she lies just like Trump and everybody else. It's crazy. There's just so many different things that she could do to make things less confusing, but she doesn't. Word salad and cackles all day. I was over at Michi X channel last night, and she played a lot of the things that I already had. So shout out to Michi X. I'm going to run this audio that she has right here. Let me see. Here it is. And because we're talking about Kamala's policies, and I think this is what she's going to do for inflation.
Prices have gone up, and
here we go.
With inflation. Thank you. Well, let's start with this. Prices have gone up, and families and individuals are dealing with the realities of the cost more, the gas costs more. And we have to understand what that means.
Sorry, the audio's sketchy. Sorry, the audio is a little sketchy, you guys.
To stress and stretch limited resources. That's a source of stress for families that is not only economic, but is on a daily level, something that is a heavy weight to carry. So it is something that we take very seriously.
Is that what Daddy got for the boys?
And we know from the history of this issue in the United States that when you see these prices go up, it has a direct impact on the quality of life for all people in our country. So it's a big issue, and we take it seriously. And it is a priority there.
So that was her stance on inflation. All she did was say that it's bad, and it's bad. She doesn't have like a ideal on how to make it better. And her economic policies, we'll look at those. Her economic policies are a continuation of what Biden's done. Is anybody in this chat who lives in America thriving while Biden is in office? Is anybody's everything overflowing with anything while Biden is in office? I'll wait. Psych. Nope, it's not. I already know the answer. I already know the answer. And yeah, and I don't think she should be the first Black president either, especially when there's so much confusion around her Blackness. And there are a lot of other awesome women that should have that title that have been doing the work for their communities and doing the work and have ideals on how to reshape America into a beautiful something instead of going along with the status quo of what we're getting. There's another clip we're going to listen to real quick. Let me get to that one. While that's loading.
This is what Kamala has to say.
For you, as the first candidate for Vice President of the United States of South Asian descent.
Your friend will be the first Indian American Vice President of the history of the United States of America, Kamala Harris.
As many of you know, generations of my family come from India. My mother was born and raised in India, and I have family members who live in India today.
Asian Americans are the fastest growing population here in North Carolina, and among them, Indian Americans are driving a lot of that growth right here in the Triangle, jobs in tech, science, and medical fields. Some are hoping to see Kamala Harris make history as the first South Asian in the highest office in the country.
Senator Kamala Harris will be the first person of Indian heritage to be nominated for vice president on a major party ticket.
The first Indian American woman to be nominated as a vice presidential candidate in America.
So that was at the beginning of 2020, just 4 years ago, you guys. She wasn't touted as the first Black vice president. She was touted as the first South Asian Indian vice president, you guys. I'm just not sure why she does one or the other. She does one or the other to certain people. But then when we question her on her Blackness, she's like, I'm Black and Indian. When other people say you're Indian, she lets it just be Indian. But when Black people specifically, who we should be gatekeeping Blackness way tighter, we need to tighten this shit up. Because even Ben Stiller and them want to be, he said him and all the Jewish men of the world want to be Black, and we see that very clearly. But at least somebody finally said it. That wasn't me. We're going to listen to that clip too. Why don't we do that real quick? Let's see. Where'd it go? Where'd it go? So many windows open. Okay, come on, Mozilla. Was it down or up? Here we go. So Ben Stiller had this to say, because they make a joke out of us, you guys. They make such big jokes out of us and our Blackness. They want to wear us as costumes. They want to take on our culture. They want to do what we do. But then when it's time to fight for our rights to be treated as fucking humans in America, and to get ahead of the wealth gap that they have 450 years of free labor from, then nobody wants to do that. Ben Stiller wants to be Black because he already got his reparations as a Jew, you guys. That's the only reason this fool even wants to be Black, because who really wants to be Black that's already got their other stuff? Because unless you're doing a costume and being a culture vulture on us. We need to gatekeep this way tighter. We need to see, how often did Kamala check the black box? How often did Kamala check the black box, except for on her HBCU application? I would love to see what her school records from when she was in the 12th grade identified her as. Was she in Kannada as a Black Indian, or was she in Kannada as an Indian? Even when she was in Oakland, was she over here in the schools as a Black Indian, or was she an Indian who lived in a Black area in Oakland? Jamaica is a nationality. They can have, somebody said in the comments, you're very right. You can be Asian Jamaican. You can be Japanese Jamaican. Lisa Hochstein from Real Housewives of Miami, her mom is technically Jamaican because she was raised in Jamaica, you guys. But when you look at Lisa Hochstein, what box is Lisa checking? What box do you think Lisa's checking, y'all? She's checking the box for her race. She's not checking the box for her ethnicity of Jamaican from her mom. Okay? And then you also have to look at how does she treat people who she says she is. Kamala says, oh, I'm black, I'm black, I'm black. But how does she treat black people? We're going to get to that. Let's first listen to Ben wish he was black because he already got his reparations, like I said. I said it. That's the only reason this fool wants to be black.
Donate. And she's also an historic candidate. You know, it's going to be the first woman president. And that's incredibly exciting. And, you know, she's Indian, she's black, she's everything. You can be more than one thing. It's incredible. You know, I'm Jewish and Irish. I wish I was black. Every white Jewish guy wishes he was black.
Did you hear what he said? Can you guys hear this okay? Where's my volume?
And
it's all the way up, too. Let's listen to him again.
You know, it's going to be the first woman president. And that's incredibly exciting. And, you know, she's Indian, she's black, she's everything. You can be more than one thing. It's incredible. You know, I'm Jewish and Irish. I wish I was black. Every white Jewish guy wishes he was black.
No, the stand doesn't go with that.
You know, it's get out there and vote and donate and like take advantage. It's such an important time right now, and this wave of energy that's happening. We got to keep going with it.
I don't know why he thought that would be funny to say, but yeah, we need to gatekeep this shit way tighter. I mean, if you're gonna do a social construct and treat an entire human population subhuman based off of the title of what you constructed as black, and then you have people who dip in and out of it for their gain, profit, and power, that's effed up, you guys. That's a little effed up. Okay? Let me see. Let's go back over here. And there's some good comments over here. Let me see this. Kamala is no connection to the U.S. That's probably why she let so many immigrants in while she was the borders czar, because what she really loves is immigrants, because that's what she really is. She loves her immigrant parents. That's who she does a lot of things for, is immigrants. She doesn't do anything for all this blackness that she holds so dear whenever people need to vote for her. She's asking for some money. Okay. I would be curious to know what Kamala put on her apple. Thank you. Oh my God, Mademoiselle, we are in the same head. Usually people put their race. Her mother said she was Caucasian. You guys. Y'all, no one is looking at Kamala and seeing Caucasian. Oh, nobody said she did. I'm not saying that I'm seeing Caucasian, but I'm not seeing black either. I'm not feeling black love come off of her. And usually, hopefully you love what you are. You don't loathe it and try to lock it up and try to throw their parents in jail and keep people in jail for 6 freaking years when you know that they weren't guilty, and do that to a lot of other people too. And those are supposed to be your black brethren. But this is what you do with your power over them. Yeah, I don't think that is anything like what I hope I'm not sounding like me saying that she's identifying this way is making her that. We're saying what her parents both identified as. Her father did not identify as black. He even called, look at the Joe Brown thing. I believe every word Joe Brown said in that rant that he did against her. I don't agree with a lot of the vulgarness, but hey, if that's how he needed to convey his point, then that's his prerogative. You know what I'm saying? And it sounds like he had some personal dealings with him that could have been the extra edge on all of his comments. Yeah, I know. Kamala is outright look like light-skinned black women in the 90s, literal blueprint. I get it. I get it. And yeah, she could. She could. We are here just talking about how Kamala is a chameleon. She never, she says whatever to sneak her way through life, to appeal to this group here. And then when she's with another, she says to do exactly. And that should concern people. That proves to us she'll say anything to get ahead. Because you don't stand on anything. You're so wishy-washy. You're this today and that tomorrow. And people are like, oh, she knows herself. Oh, she's sound. Oh, she's this. Well, why is she 60 years old and still can't pick a side? Or at least incorporate them both moving forward. Why is she one or the other? One or the other. And then washing collard greens in freaking bathtubs is not a sign of blackness. It's a sign of nasty. Yelling at people and getting sneering at people when they tell you to that you're genocide Kamala genocide, or whatever they were ranting about at the thing yesterday. And when she got that, they said she got a black, oh, there's no doubt she's black now. Did you see the look on her face? Please. So we're reduced to sneakers, thugs, people who like crime. Trump thinks we like him because he got pow-powed in the ear. Hillary thinks if you have hot sauce in your bag, you see how it's all a caricature? You see how they're playing us two sides to the middle? They're literally playing us off, you guys. Laughing in our face. This should concern you greatly. That a woman who would be this today and that tomorrow. So what are you going to believe in the meantime? What can we believe? If you're this today and that tomorrow, what can I believe you will be over the course of 4 years? Because I can't believe shit you say. Okay. Her mother's birth certificate states that she is Caucasian. So these people are delusional. But they'll still try to weave their way into the white side, knowing they don't look white. Exactly. But they don't want to be black either. So her mom knew her daughters would be seen as black. So she went to the blackest city she could find in the Bay Area, Oakland, home to the Black Panthers, shout out. Because she would be seen as black, not because she was black. Wouldn't that have been maybe she learned it from her mom to be so confusing. Maybe she learned all of this at home since her mom raised her. It sounds very confusing to be in Oakland at Lake Merritt one day and in India the next. I'm not sure. And then go to Canada. I'm not sure how Canadians viewed her there. Did they also move to Canada because she would be seen as black there too? Or did she move to Canada because she would be seen as, I don't know. I don't even know what Canadians do with black people up there. I have seen some things where they have a lot of the racism over there too, you know? And then how she doesn't even want to say that the systems in America are racist, and she doesn't want to call people racist. So you really aren't black then. Because if you black, you can call somebody racist because you've experienced racism. And you would love to call a racist if you're really black so that the racism can stop. But no, if you're pandering to your whiteness, of course you don't want to offend it. And of course you would be like, oh, well, blah, 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 blah. Okay. Oh, Ben is into some. I heard a lot of those J guys are into some other kind of stuff. Yeah, some dark stuff. Oh my gosh. What's good? Love you. Love you. Thanks for being here. This is Larger Curve sister, you guys. Goddess 777's in the hizzle for shizzle. And she's part of the reason. Remember when I started this? I was like, people I love are telling me that I wasted my vote if I don't vote for either of these two diaper-filled, sepsis-infected booty cheeks, that is the Democrats and the Republicans, with the current candidates. I'm wasting something. I'm not wasting shit. And if we're going to look at that too, the term wasted vote is technically when you vote for the person who didn't win. They're all wasted votes. So if all you guys vote for Kamala and 45 wins, then you all wasted your vote just as much as me, who's going to vote for whoever the F I feel like voting for, and it won't be a waste because at least I did it. C stands for nothing. Literally will say anything that should concern you. Are you raising your children to say anything in the moment to get what they want? Were you raised to say anything to get what you want and then switch the next day? Do you believe with those as a moral compass? I don't. But sister, look, I found the guy that she locked away for 6 years and knew he didn't do shit. And then tried to keep him in jail and had to almost get into contempt of court to get him out. You guys, she be doing dirty, dirty things to the Black people that she is one. But I'm telling you, she does not do anything to show us her allegiance to us except for collard greens in my bathtub. HBCU. Okay. She wrote policies that made it okay for other DAs to lock up Black mothers specifically. We're going to listen to this. This is part of the copyright part because this is from Vice. So I'm not going to show it, but it is Kamala Harris's prosecutor sent this innocent man to prison. You guys can find it. It's a Vice clip, and it's a really good clip. So we're going to play some, comment, okay? And I'm going to distort it so we don't get tagged on these pictures too, but I do want you to see them. Okay. Are you going to play?
Never in a million years I would have thought that they were going to charge me for sales murder. I never talked to no detective, no police officer, no DA, nobody.
Just arrested and then charged.
Arrested and charged. That's it.
Was the first time you saw Kamala Harris in person the day that the verdict was issued?
She showed.
Okay, so this is a young gentleman from San Francisco Bay Area. Shout out to my hometown, Yay area for shizzle. And he had a personal experience, and this is a very old clip. And he actually, the reason Vice even entertained him is because after his 6-year ordeal in dealing with the morally compromised, I'll say anything to get ahead, Kamala Harris, he was awarded $13 million, y'all. $13 million. They don't give that to you unless she did some bullshit. Let's listen some more.
Up at the two most pivotal times in this first trial, and me being convicted and me being sentenced. She wanted to be present for a celebration of a conviction.
That's what it felt like, a celebration?
A celebration, that's what it felt like. The reaction.
Why, if you are Black and care so much about Black people and are now saying that, oh, I did so much for Black people. I did this law for recidivism, and I did this law to try to do that, and I did this law. But why, when you had the actual power, you were doing shit like this?
What I get when I tell people my story is, they say it's the worst nightmare. It's the closest thing to dying.
Jamal, I'm going to read you a quote real quick. The job of a progressive prosecutor is to look out for those overlooked, to speak up for those whose voices aren't being heard, to see and address the causes of crime, not just their consequences, and to shine a light on the inequality and unfairness that lead to injustice.
So when people say, oh, she was the social services of prosecutors, that's what she was supposed to be. That's what she could have been. And she might have turned that one day, because we've already established that she'll be one thing today and another thing tomorrow. But if you're flip-flopping constantly, that's when you get cast out of the mouth, right? Not even God likes people who are on the fence. Even God is like, pick a fucking side, okay? And if you in the middle too long, then you're in trouble too, because you need to pick a side. You need to stand for something.
Just to recognize that not everyone needs punishment. What many need, quite obviously, is help. Kamala Harris wrote that in her book, The Truth We Hold.
You see that? Did you see that look he did just there when he found out Kamala Harris said that? Like, that was like, dang, she said that, and that's who did this to me?
Does that sound consistent with the kind of with the brand of justice that you saw administered by offices that she was running?
It definitely sounds like Kamala Harris right now as a senator. But at the time of her being the head district attorney of San Francisco, that is almost polar opposite of what I felt and what our community felt in San Francisco.
And as a Bay Area raised person, it was well known about Kamala's practices in 2004 to 2014 and what she was known for doing. This man is speaking from personal firsthand experience to all the people who wanted to know, well, where are all these people that she locked up? Well, here's one, but now probably somebody will want, where are the rest or something? Who knows? But at least I found you one.
So Jamal, where are we?
Right now, we are in Sunnydale Projects, where I was born and raised at. Now, this isn't a place that you'll want to bring outsiders into, and a place that they don't want to go. This ain't a place that feels comfortable. It feels like you might get robbed, you might get shot.
Police were keeping files on you, your brothers, and other people who were living in Sunnydale from a bit.
And that's part of the thing they do, is they automatically criminalize poverty-stricken Black people, and instead, or other people groups too. I'm talking about my people group. And I didn't grow up in any projects. I know people who grew up in projects, and they literally had dossiers on these little kids to make them criminals in their minds because of the location of their living. Now, this young man, he never got caught up in any of the gang stuff or the drug stuff or anything, and was at home minding his beautiful business when they came in and arrested him for the unaliving of his friend. But can anybody tell me why the DA and the police would start files on little faces like this? Unless you're criminalizing Black men, Black youth. If I was a DA and I knew some people were creating dossiers on minor children because of their living circumstances, I would, as the top cop is what they call Kamala, I would put a stop to it. I would be like, not on my watch. You better not let me hear about it no more. And then if any of these were brought to me, I would go back and be like, were they really doing this, or were they just living in a place where a lot of this stuff happened?
Very young age.
They already have me labeled, because I'm in this community, as a potential gang member, potential killer, potential drug dealer. You gotta wake up to the fact that, things are set up against us.
There is a conspiracy.
Yes,
it happened to you.
Exactly. There is
proven.
So the conspiracy against Black people is true and in full effect. But this woman who claims she's Black doesn't want to say there's racism in America, doesn't want to call anybody a racist, and does not mind criminalizing youth for no other reason than being Black in poverty. Carry on.
Court. Absolutely. Places like this have been developed for predominantly African American people to not be able to succeed beyond it.
What did you know about Kamala Harris? What did you know about San Francisco having a black DA?
Nobody in the hood ever worried or focused on the DA position in general, but people.
And shout out, just real quick, the DAs are voted for in elections, in local elections that have nothing to do with presidential elections. So that's where, as a person who, if this concerns you and you don't want a DA in your city like Kamala, who's going to be criminalizing Black youth, white youth, Indian youth, Chinese youth, Filipino youth, Jewish youth, whatever your people group is, if you want a DA that's going to go for evidence of actual crime instead of dossiers designed to criminalize, then where you can get ahead of that is in your local elections, which is where your vote actually has the most power, because there is no electoral college that has to just go along with the popular vote for that state. Okay?
People did focus on it just a tad bit, that it was Black, and feeling like, okay, this Black lady in office, Kamala Harris, she was going to understand where we come from, and have more of a sympathetic way of prosecuting people that come from our community.
But that is not what happened. The opposite of that happened. There was no understanding. There was actually like almost a fever of, like frenzy almost of let's get him, let's get him, let's get him, let's get him. Let's get him, let's get him, let's get him.
Communities who have been plagued with no opportunities. This is Hunter's Point, where
shout out to Hunter's Point.
Projects and communities used to really war with each other.
Jamal, in July 2007, what's going on in your life at that point?
Shout out to 2007. That's the year I got married. 777 at 7. Okay.
I recently just came off of I Love New York. And
shout out to I Love New York. My water actually broke I used to love Tiffany Pollard and I Love New York. And my water with my first son broke while I was watching Flavor of Love. That was a spinoff from I Love You New York. Or was I Love New York a spinoff from Flavor of Love? Anyway, my water broke to Flavor of Love, y'all.
And also, that's when my friend Sel Kuka got killed.
More than a year goes by and no one's been arrested in the case. You hadn't even been questioned.
Haven't even been questioned, no. The police was still, trying to get a conviction by all means necessary. When I was arrested.
Kiki, this is a great question. And had the American people gotten a chance to hear other ideals from other candidates on how to move the country forward and away from the two diaper rash ridden butt cheeks that is, have we gotten a chance to even hear an alternative POV point of view, then perhaps you and I could have an excellent conversation about that. But because the media is in on the fix, even The View is in on the fix, the newspapers are in on the fix. You guys should be really, really, really upset that all of these forces are actively working together to force two devils down your throat and then tell you, oh, you need to choose between these two evils. And if you don't, then you're stupid and you're wasting this and you're making the other person this and that. That's not democracy. We're going to go over it, but let's keep listening, oh boy.
For it, the community knew I didn't do it. And it was here we go again. See, this is why we don't trust, law enforcement, because it gets to a point where somebody who didn't do something goes to jail for it. I don't have no.
And then people are like, oh, well, if she did lock up 1,900 people, don't you ever think that they were all guilty? And then we have a perfect example of that wasn't her case. She would lock up innocent people on a regular. This is a microcosm of her macrocosm is a top cop in a city that was predominant. It was very still black at that time, but there's been a huge black exodus of black residents from San Francisco for parts of reasons like this. You know, if you put somebody's dad in jail for too long and don't let him post bail and keep him there, and he was the breadwinner, then what do you think is going to happen to the rent at that house? You think they might get evicted? You think they might have to move out of the city? I don't know. It's all connected though, you guys.
History of crime. What's up, what? I have a history of being around in the community, but that doesn't mean that I'm a suspect. I'm like, oh man, I'll be out within 72 hours. They're going to figure this out. They're going to clear this up.
And then when you found out what the evidence was that they supposedly had you on,
and then you're supposed to be in America, we're supposed to be innocent until proven guilty. Right? But as the top cop in America, Kamala was having people guilty until proven innocent.
There wasn't much there. Can you describe what it was?
They had a woman saying that she seen me kill Sel. The second witness that they had really wasn't a witness at all. She said anything that the police officers wanted her to say, and they said.
And that we even see that on freaking series on TV about cops. Well, they'll go get the tweaker. They'll go get a CI to say whatever they want them to say so that they can make the case and make the thing stick. I need to know if there are incentives that these police officers get for planting evidence and having witnesses come in that didn't witness shit. And why aren't those officers then held accountable, just like all the ones that get to go around unaliving Sonia Macy's and then expect their job back and to still be receiving pay while they're on leave?
That her recollection of the events was extremely credible. So that's what ultimately got the arrest warrant.
The district attorney of San Francisco, Kamala Harris, appeared in the courtroom during your trial twice.
Yeah, the two.
So credibility appeared very credible. But there's no proof of what he did. But they got somebody to say what the cops wanted him to say. And then here she comes into court. And I bet she came in with that same big dick energy that she did when she was questioning Kavanaugh. Remember all those questions she threw at Kavanaugh? And it was just like word salad. Did you do this? Did you do this? Remember? And people were like, what are you talking about? And she was just, putting on for the cameras. That's what I felt like she was doing in the Kavanaugh thing, personally.
Did focus on it just a tad bit, that it was black, and feeling like, okay, this black lady, and she was well aware about my case, and she was there to set her presence, almost take pride in getting a conviction.
So he spent 6 years of his life that he can't get back, caught up in a system away from his brothers, away from his mother, in a 10 by 10 freaking cell with other hardcore criminals, perhaps or not perhaps, depending on if she was the one who put him there. They might have all been innocent, singing Kumbaya, playing spades and praying to Jesus. But after 6 years with no proof and a word of mouth witness, this black man had to spend his life. He appealed and was successful. He was acquitted in a new trial.
When I put in my appeal, the people that's fighting against my appeal to keep the conviction is the Attorney General office. I learned it reading.
So as the DA, she locked him up. That's probably why she don't like people screaming, lock him up in the freaking rallies because she don't know if she's talking about the last people that she locked up that were innocent or if they're talking about 45. She don't want to remember. She don't want anybody to remember that she was locking him up with no evidence. So you can't say that here. Oh, no, don't say that. So as the DA, she assured his life was interrupted. And we're going to play a clip later where she knew the power of what she was doing as the DA. And then as the AG, 6 years later, she continued to torment, harass, and torture this man's life. That's fucking harassment, you guys. This lady literally harassed this man, first as a DA, and then took it upon herself as an AG to continue to harass him and try to keep him where she decided he needed to be. But that's her black side.
You know, their reply to my appeal, and you see Kamala Harris' name at the bottom. And now it's starting to feel a little personal.
When you win the 13 point.
I'm only listening to this, and you can tell that I'm feeling like it's personal. Okay? Man framed. So he was framed, you guys. They didn't even get into that in this. Who framed him but the police? Who could have possibly framed this man except for the police who got a fake witness? And she's the top cop at the time. So the people under the top cop, she allowed them to frame this man. I bet that nothing will ever happen to those men. They just get to lie and keep on collecting pensions in our militarized prison system. And then she was screaming about defund the police in 2020 when she was running for president. But people were like, you sound stupid as a top cop who was locking up innocent men. So she had to change her tune.
$1 million is a massive settlement. Did you feel like that was enough?
There's not an amount.
Millions of dollars. He got $2 million practically per year that he was locked up for no reason other than Kamala Harris and her dirty deeds, along with the dirty cops that were under her, framing this black man who they had criminalized since he was about 7. That should concern you guys. Unless it shouldn't. I hope it concerns you guys. Because anybody that can do that to a young, innocent man, do you think she gives a fuck about a young, innocent country? Her actions have spoken louder than her word salad any day. Her actions. Faith is an action word. Her actions have spoken louder than her word salad any day.
That could get back those 7 years. That was 6.5 years that I spent in prison. But instead of me coming home feeling like I was a victim, I wanted to prove that I'm a survivor, and I will not let my story go unheard. You know, I'm not necessarily.
So that was him. So I believe this is her acknowledging the power that she held at that time.
We should have to ensure that our children.
Oh, no. This is her apologizing for creating legislation that was used to lock up black parents specifically for kids being truant at school.
Receiving the benefit of an education, we will pay the price later, and those kids will pay the price, which is that they'll end up in the criminal justice system. And that's what I wanted to avoid. I wanted to avoid a situation where those children end up being criminalized, some for their entire lifetime, because we failed.
Oh, really? Really, Kamala? Really? They can get criminalized as young children for their entire lifetime? I wonder how you know that, Cam. How you know that? Could it possibly be because that's what you did? You know firsthand because that's what you did on many occasions. Let's continue to listen to her word salad, blah, blah, blah.
Fail them in the earliest stages. And so part of what we wanted to do and what we did successfully, when I looked into this issue, John, I realized that there was no distinction in the education code between truancy, meaning 3 or 4 unexcused absences, and what we were seeing, which is kids missing as much as 80 days of a 180-day school year.
Yeah.
So we changed the law to say, no, we need to understand, like, if you think of it as in phases, as, yellow light, red light situation is the chronic truancy. And we actually got it in the education code. So now it says chronic truancy, 10% or more of the school year missed, because we had to understand institutionally that this is a red light warning.
So do you think it might have also been because while you were creating dossiers and jackets for minor children who were like 5, 6, and 7 in Hunters Point and Bayview, and they weren't doing anything except for minding their Black business, and then your only way to really get to them was to harshen the truancy, I'm doing air quotes, rules to make it criminal for those kids to be at home with their parents instead of in school for whatever reason, But why was that a priority for her to criminalize parents? Why do you think her priority, why was that her priority? I'm not sure. Let's keep looking.
And we're failing these kids if we're not paying attention to the fact that there are kids who are chronically truant and what that will mean for their
Happy
lives.
Friday,
or just
Palaver.
Our failure as a system to let them achieve their capacity.
So do you think that the 2011 law shouldn't have allowed?
She didn't care about that man who she put away for 6 years not reaching his full capacity because her dirty cops in her framed him for murder and kept him away for 6 years. But she cares about random kids allegedly in the projects who she knows jackets and dossiers are compiled on to criminalize them. She knew it. She let it happen. And now she's sitting here saying anything again in front of the right people to try to undo what she has actionably done.
Some of these DAs to arrest
because
parents.
my regret is that I have now heard stories that where in some jurisdictions DAs have criminalized the parents.
Right.
And I regret that has happened, and that the thought that anything that I did could have led to that, because that certainly was not the intention.
Oh, so she's not the smartest person in the room. She doesn't think things all the way through, and she didn't do anything to undo it now that she knows it's a fucking problem. That's interesting.
Never was the intention.
I don't think so.
Okay. So then this is clips of her when they were saying that she was pandering to people's Blackness. Let's see what they're saying.
The parents civil rights activists?
Yeah, they were. They were active. They were. I mean, they were. My mother was actually a breast cancer researcher, but they met when they were active in civil rights movement. Yeah, Maya and I, my sister, we joke we grew up surrounded by a bunch of adults who spent full time marching and shouting.
Yeah, and see, that's what bugs me out about the criticism you receive, because it's like your parents were civil rights activists. You were born in Oakland. Oakland's a black ass.
So all of these characters getting thrown around, even by Black people, of what it is to be Black. So if you're a civil rights activist, you could have only been Black. Or because her parents, who both put Caucasian on all their boxes, were civil rights activists, that makes them Black?
Oh, yeah.
You went to
Or does it show that they get in where they can fit in, like their daughter?
Howard University. So why do people say things like she's pandering to Black people?
They don't know me. And I, listen, I think that also, some folks have a limited vision of who we are as Black people.
Mm-hmm.
And that's on them. That's not on us.
What do you say to
their appreciation for the diaspora, for the diversity, for the beauty in the diversity of who we are as Black people? So I'm not going to spend my time trying to educate people about who Black people are.
And they're going to say that's one.
We don't want you to educate us on Black. We want you to get educated on identifying yourself so that there's no confusion over what you're saying. Asian today, black tomorrow. Now you're both when it suits you. I'm like we said, we just aren't sure why you're going back and forth. You're doing this, and we just notice. Palaver, love you. Thanks for being here. Happy Friday.
Sometimes you pandering to black people, but she's black.
No, but I'm black.
Yes.
And I'm proud of being black.
Absolutely.
And I was born black. I will die black. And I'm proud of being black. And I'm not going to make any excuses for anybody because they don't understand. Better appreciation.
Out of a coconut. You think you just fell out?
And then this is some just information from Kamala, and that laugh, man. It just is like nails on a freaking chalkboard to me. Just the shit's not that funny. It's not that funny, Kamala. And that makes me feel like you're a fake and a phony on top of your word salad, here today, gone tomorrow ass. It's just a lot of things make me have these thoughts and perceptions about how she would fit in as a leader of the so-called free world. Okay? So here's a laugh track for good old Cammy Cam.
Out of a coconut tree?
Hello.
I want to talk to you. Okay, I can first.
Wait, they want to know now.
We're there after.
I'm gonna pause it on this picture. You know why? Because the same lady who's black allegedly, then when she got in office, she said, "Oh, I'm not going to do anything for black people specifically. I'm only going to do stuff that benefits everybody." And then 3 months later, signed and co-authored an anti-Asian hate crime bill for Asians only. But you can't do nothing for blacks only. And then she's going to be carrying on the policies of the Biden administration, who acknowledged that black people in an unprecedented number actually helped him get in office after he told us that we weren't black unless we voted for his devil ass, because it was again a choice between two devils. The man who wrote the 1994 crime bill, that's devilish behavior. And Trump, that was devilish behavior. So she wasn't going to do anything specifically for us, but she did do something specifically for Asians after 6 weeks of hate. And we got 450 years of hate. And as a black woman, alleged black woman, I feel like she missed a real opportunity to show that she was down with the black side of her. But instead, she literally got a little attitude. I'm not going to do nah. Got a little attitude. And she was in Oakland long enough to learn how to do a neck roll and an eye stare. But that doesn't make you black. After she said she wasn't going to do anything specifically for black people, and after she passed the anti-Asian hate crime bill, in her very first speech that she did as the presidential nominee, she pledged her allegiance to Israel on top of it all. Unwavering support is what she promised them. She promised them unwavering support. So more of my tax-paying dollars are going to go someplace out of this country messing with Kamala. More of the money that should be reparations for foundational black Americans such as myself are going out the window to support genocide under Kamala. It's a continuation of the exact same policies that we are enacted in right now. Gas is $5.39, milk is $6.99, minimum wage is every dollar you make, at least 80 cents of it is taxed. People are scratching to get by. So many people live under freeways, and the governors, including my state, are tearing down their tents, throwing out the only thing they had left of the life from when they were tax-paying citizens. And then you're going to tell them that the money they sent to the taxpayers is going to continue to go someplace else instead of get them off the motherfucking streets? You guys are okay with this? Really? So your two cheeks are okay with this shit? And that is a very good question. And had the DNC not usurped American citizens and force-fed us Joe, and now force-feeding us Cam, Under duress. All of this is under duress. It's manufactured duress has been created by the DNC allowing Sleepy Joe to wake up and lie and say, I'm going to run for president again. After he said he was only going to be a transitional president. The DNC. Don't tell me I'm wasting shit. Call the DNC and ask them, why would you make larger waste her vote? By not having the democratic process, by not challenging Biden, so that there were people running for president in 2023, you guys. June, July 2023, people were announcing that they were running for president in the Democratic ticket. Not only did they not get any steam because the media who's in on the fix didn't allow them to get their platforms to be heard. Now, a year later, so we would have had like 13 months, Kiki. We would have had 13 months to see who do we want in the White House as the alternative. We would have had 13 months to listen to other ideals and policies and procedures and agendas for people. We would have had it. But it was usurped and snatched away by a liar in chief and the DNC. And now people come tell me I'm wasting something. I'm not wasting it. I'm using it. Because I am not voting for her. She pledged her allegiance to Israel. She's not doing shit for Black people claiming to be Black. Only wants to do stuff for immigrants. Everybody else in the world can go to this woman and say, well, what do you plan on doing for trans people? And she'll tell them. What do you plan on doing for immigrants? Oh, she'll tell them. You ask her, what do you plan on doing for Black people? She says, I'm not planning on doing anything for you specifically. That doesn't concern anybody? That's not duplicitous? That's not just downright nasty? You guys don't feel like you're getting talked out of your panties yet? I'm surprised. I'm really surprised that all of this is just like, okay, Massa, let's just get back to picking cotton. Has anybody ever thought that continuing to vote for two cheeks of the same ass is the reason it's taken 450 years for specifically Black people to get out from under their racist thumb? But okay, let's go vote for a Democrat. Let's go vote for a Republican. Okay. I'll catch up. I got another bale of cotton to pick. Here I come. Okay. Wait for me. Massa said I can't leave yet. Okay. Really? This doesn't enrage you? This doesn't make you want even more so a different alternative view so that you cannot be participating in American taxpaying dollars being spread so thin to foreign governments that they want our inflation to raise higher? Have you guys looked at the VIX yet? The volatility index is off the fucking charts. You guys know I do finance. Those awesome accounts with 12% that I could get you last week, by the end of the month, they're not going to be offering 12% no more. You might get 8, you might get 6. You might. Because the inflation and the way the economy is in this country is so affected by our deficit, and our deficit is increasing every day with the dollars that they send to foreign governments to fund wars. And then they're signing bills where they want my 16-year-old son to have to sign up for a draft to go fight in this shit in 2 years. This doesn't concern you? You agree with this? You're okay with your sons and daughters going over there to support this war? Because that's what's next. Because they don't have the manpower that they need to be fucking with Hezbollah and all those people. They messing with Syria, Lebanon, Iran, the freaking everybody. And they don't have the manpower, even though a lot of people from Connecticut have jumped on a plane and they did join, and they're over there signing bombs right now, practicing. And then they come back to our country, into the UK and stuff, and they walk amongst us after having a blood frenzy over there in Gaza, Palestine, free Palestine. Did I mention that? Free Palestine. And why is it that is fake is the only people that ever get to defend themselves? How is it the person that threw the rock and hid their hands is the only person that gets to defend themselves in a place that's not even made for them? Because nobody over there needs sunscreen except for the transplants. I said it. I'm going to take it back. People from that region don't need sunscreen. People who fly to that region and pretend like that house is theirs need sunscreen. You're not built for it because that's not your place. And if we are going by places, then that means everybody in America needs to get up off the natives' land. If you're just going to go back and take some shit back that you said was in a book somewhere. That means all the colonizers that are currently occupying in Al-Qaeda today, also known as Africa, need to get their wares and get the fuck out. If we're talking about give me back what's mine. But no, it only works for his fake. Who we pledge our allegiance to. I'm not pledging allegiance to shit. I'm going to use my vote the way I see fit. Here's an alternative. Jill Stein. She wants to demand better. Has anybody checked out her platform? We did it the other day. Did you know there's actually 7 people running for president, not 2? There's 5 they don't even let you hear about. And everybody's like, oh, it won't even matter if you don't do it in many. It won't many. Well, if enough of us do it, then they'll finally find out that it matters. If enough of us have the spine and the chutzpah and the guts and the cojones to get out from between these 2 fucking infested cheeks, then maybe some shit can change. But if you're still fucking with cheeks, you're only going to keep getting the shit you're getting. Jill Stein has some solid policies. And they'll be like, oh, well, she was never did anything before. What did Trump do before you guys let him in? What did he ever do? Oh, well, I don't know if she'll be strong. I don't know if Marianne Williamson will be strong. But what? So all the other people are strong? Or are they all in there doing a money grab and playing life or death with your children's future? And what have their past policies and actions proven to us about their character and where they think about us and where we actually stand with them? The 1994 crime bill screams what exactly America is putting Black people through today. Same exact attitude, different decade. Second-class citizens in our own country. But you're not Black if you don't vote for me. And now you're not Black if you don't vote for Kamala. You don't feel played yet? You guys should reclaim your time, decolonize your mind, get out from under these ass cheeks and freaking do some research and look at the alternatives, and then understand that democracy and the power to vote doesn't mean going along with the status quo. It doesn't mean being forced to choose between 2 evils, because it's still evil. Evil still wins. The only way to not vote for evil is to not vote for evil. If you don't want a lesser of 2 devils in the White House, then don't vote for no fucking devils. It's simple. But no, people are like, oh no, if you do that, then the other thing. But did you know also that when you do vote for other parties and they get enough votes, then the people that do get in usually try to copy some of those policies to pacify that swath of the population, the constituents. Let's listen to her annoying laugh some more. Come on.
You think you just fell out of a coconut tree? Hello.
I want to talk to you. Okay, I come first.
They want to know now.
You were there after 10.
You got it, Milo? You guys, somebody's in my door. Okay. So that was, who is it? I don't know. That was the reel for that. Now let's hurry up and look at Kai Sinet. Talk about. Sorry, you guys. Milo's going off. Let's look at some of these comments before I get into the next one.
What's up, Milo?
Milo, come here. Milo, come.
Thank you, Tony. Come on, Milo.
Thank you, Tony.
Thank you, Tony.
They brought me watermelon because you guys know I love making my watermelon lemonade. Thank you. It's beautiful. He's so sweet to me. We have a gardener across the street, and he be hooking me up with the organics, y'all. So, okay, let's look at these comments. Thanks for being here. Smash the like button, smash the subscribe button. If you haven't already, ring the bell so you can get notified when we upload videos. And catch this. Then commented news, she went to Howard University, that she would get ahead because of her coloring. Yes, Prince would have loved her, I think. Yeah, he would have. He would have. He loves it. He loved racially ambiguous kind of all of it. Girl, I love it. I love it. And I'm not knocking it. I'm just like, be proud. If that's what you are, be proud. Don't be so, feel so duplicitous. That's not true. Your vote is your vote. It is. Miss Kiki, that's where I am too. I want to put the fire out, save the house, and deal with the differing opinions. And then deal with and that's what I love it, Palaver. And that's where I was a couple of elections ago. I was like, okay, let's just vote for this devil, and then we'll deal with it. But nothing ever gets dealt with. I've been on this earth long enough to see the pattern power. I've been in love long enough to see the pattern power is that it never gets dealt with. It's always a fire that needs to get put out every 4 years. It's a fire, then the fire got started by one cheek or the other cheek, running around the White House with matches, set the shit ablaze. The country's up in smoke. And then we get another one. And it's like, oh, well, we'll deal with it later. We'll deal with it later. We'll deal with it later. Look, it's been 450 years of dealing with it later. And we're still dealing with it. And it's getting worse, not better. Project 2025, all the bones and sprockets are in place. We already went over it. So whether or not 45 gets in the White House, the shit's already happening on state levels, you guys. All the bones are in place for Project 2025 in Gilead. Everybody for Halloween this year is going to need a Handmaid's Tale costume. And I just got in menopause, so I'm going to have to be that unviv bitch. Fear-mongering, duress. That's what's driving these elections. Manufactured fires. Oh, it's so important. Oh my God. Oh my God. While these two have been in White House right now, all the things for the Project 2025 have just been passing and passing. They haven't done nothing about it. When the stuff was getting attacked in Florida, they didn't say not a peep from the White House about how DEI and CRT was under attack and how they're taking books out and whitewashing history further in America. They didn't even suggest that anything happened, except for what's happening. How long are we going to wait to deal with things? How long are we going to wait to deal with things? That's just what I just would love to know. Like, where's people's limit? I'm to my limit, 450 years and counting. I'm to my limit as a Black woman who's checked Black on the box from birth. It's on my birth certificate fucking kit that I'm Negro. That's how old I am, y'all. They put Negro on the shit. And the things that were happening when I was a Negro baby are still happening even worse today while I'm in menopause. When are we going to deal with it? That's what I would love to know. It's just, when are we going to deal with it? Tomorrow, 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 tomorrow. Oh, there's a glitch in my system. Tomorrow, 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 tomorrow. When are we going to deal with it? Why not today? Why not this election? Why not right now? Why not deal with it right now by letting them know that you're not playing their game anymore and that you did a little research and you saw somebody that's willing to have a full ceasefire and get the fuck out of my territory and leave Palestine alone? How about that? How about the person that's like, oh, I have 500 billion marked for the first round of freaking reparations for foundational Black Americans? How about that? How about the people that are like, oh, we can't keep on fracking and gas lighting the whole country up, and they're really going to care about environmental stuff so that our kids can play under something that's not a fire sky? You guys haven't watched Mad Max in the fucking Thunderdome, y'all? I would love if we would take a chance on us. I would love if we didn't cave to the bullying and the duress. And everybody knows, I hope you know, that you don't even have to, if you sign a contract under duress, did you know that contract can be void? True story. True story. If you sign a contract under duress, that can make that contract void. I've signed shit before, and I'm signing this under duress so that if later on some shit pops off, I could be like, I only signed that shit under duress. You're supposed to be in your whole full faculty under no duress when you engage in contracts. Your vote is a contract with that candidate, with that party. They tell you all over it's illegal for you to fuck with your whole voting thing. It's like there's like laws about it. And all of us are voting under duress. You don't think that saying, oh, it's either this devil or the other one, may as well take the devil, that's a duress statement. Let's look up duress real quick. I love etymology. Haven't done it in a while. D-U-R-E-S-S. Duress is the act of using force, coercion, threats, psychological pressure, among other things, to get someone to act against their wishes. If a person acts under duress, they are not acting of their own free will and may be treated accordingly in court proceedings. So, Sleepy Joe created a duress situation for specifically the Democrats by lying and backpedaling and pussy popping on the promise that he made to be a one-term transitional president. So that took all the people that were on the table off since freaking when he said it. But even before that, nobody was interviewing them because they already knew. Duress, the act of using psychological pressure. You guys are right here in the comments telling me stuff that feels like psychological pressure to try to make me entertain one of the two ass cheeks some more. Psychological pressure. Threats. Oh, well, you're going to make 45 get in there. Oh, it's going to be your fault that 2025 happened. That's a threat. Coercion. Well, if you don't do it this way, then that's going to happen. Force. Taking the other people off the ticket. That's force. Not even letting people know that there are 7 candidates running means the media is forcing us to only consider these other 2 people. It's a freaking, they're all in on the fix. You're right. There's no such thing as a wasted vote. Not voting is literally a choice as well. Yes, exactly. And I actually have some of that for us. Let's look. I had a bookmark for us. Let me make this big while I do this. I don't want you guys to see all my bookmarks. Not that I don't love you, but let's see, where'd it go? Oh, and then I come over here. Here we are. What has Kamala done? Okay, that's one we need. And then we're going to need wasted vote myth. And then we're going to need what is a wasted vote? And then we're going to need, I think I have one other thing for us to see. Is that 4 things I opened? Okay, now let's come back over here. And I will close out the video that we looked at. And I actually will delete it because I only wanted us to hear that part from the guy that she locked up and who got $13.1 million for her lying and framing a black man, but she's black and loves blacks. And we're closing this. And we're closing this. She loves the blacks so much. She locks them up and frames them. She locks them up and frames them. Yay! A cell for you and a cell for you. And if you don't vote, then you did it. Oh, I see. Okay, I see. Now I see what's happening. Sorry. Reject all the cookies. So let's look real quick. Oh, we didn't. Did we finish Kai Cenat? No, I didn't finish Kai. I'm sorry. I had Kai up there and I just closed it because that was the next thing is I wanted us to hear Kai. He went off. He was passionate, man. I love passion. He was passionate about being contacted by the Popo. Well, the Secret Service is a version of the Popo. And they were putting duress on him, trying to coerce him into endorsing Kamala Harris. Let's see.
Be in a penthouse in New York. And on top of that, I got the fucking Secret Service calling me 5 times, nigga! I don't know goddamn shit about politics, my nigga. I don't know nothing. Hey, I'm gonna keep it a stack. I'm gonna go ahead and say it. I don't give a fuck. Okay? Listen, I had a bad bitch that I've been trying to get on for like the last 2 years that I haven't spoke to in like a year. I haven't spoke to this girl in so goddamn long who gonna have the audacity to text me, we need you a part of the campaign. At first I was thinking she was talking about like a game, a video game, like a Modern Warfare game, or some shit. Or if not that, a clothing brand. I'm like, what campaign? Shorty gonna say, we're not gonna get into details. Say it right now. If this some way, somehow, something was to go into where I do the stream of politics, I'm going to be 100% honest. I'm going to sit on my stream and say, why did you guys call me? Like, I don't know. I've never did anything with politics. And these blogs are like trying to say, yo, you gotta do this shit, God. And it's all the top blogs. And I'm like, bro, since when did niggas...
So they were trying to coerce him, somebody who doesn't even care about it. They were trying to use his platform because this video has 27.9 million views. Kai Cenat, he has freaking a huge following. And they were trying to use him, the usury of it all. She locks up people like him and starts dossiers on kids that look like him from 7. And now that she needs somebody like that, she's having the Secret Service call him. And I wouldn't be surprised if we hear in a month or so there was some kind of something that happens, because he is not subscribing to what they're trying to make him do. And if he does, then we already know he's not interested and he's just doing it to be doing it. I actually think voters like him could really, really, really change the game. But if they're not into it, they don't have to be into it. But I really feel like these alpha gen, is it alpha gens? Whatever generation he is, are the ones that could really, really, really flip the script on this whole, they could turn it upside down because these politicians aren't even really considering them. Not really, really. They're like really looking for the old people vote, you know? But these 21s and overs, let's see. How old do you have to be to vote for president?
The president is elected into.
How old do you have to be to vote for president?
Although the federal voting age is 18, a third of the states allow those who are 17, but will be 18 by the general election to vote in primaries. This is from.
So, you know how free thinking these kids are. They don't listen to nothing. Ooh, my 16-year-old, I when I was at the park with him back in the day, I was like, oh, look, it's an epidemic. All the kids in here got the same itis. They don't listen to shit itis. You got to repeat yourself 2811 times with these kids these days. They're not listening to nothing old people are, okay, boomer, okay, boomer, okay, boomer. Could you imagine if the 17-year-olds, soon to be 18-year-olds and 18 and over all got at this election? What change there could be? What change it could enact? Because I feel like they would see what I'm talking about. They would definitely see. When I talk to my son about this, he's like, Mom, why are people even still doing it that way? And he's only 16. He's going to be a voter. Well, the primaries. Yeah, he'll be 17 in time for the primaries. So he could even vote. And if they voted, if the people that play Fortnite voted, they would get exactly what I'm saying. They would immediately want a diaper change. As a matter of fact, I think they would be doing sun salutations and sunbathing their perineum to get rid of the freaking germs. Okay? But it's those older people who are like, okay, let's go vote for two devils then. Okay. Okay. They haven't done nothing for 400 years for us. Okay. They see the boomers in the Senate. They see the boomers in Congress. They see the boomer in the White House. They don't even relate. We're speaking two different languages. Okay, boomer. Vote for a devil. Let's listen to him again. That was exciting.
Be in a penthouse in New York. And on top of that, I got the fucking Secret Service calling me 5 times, nigga! I don't know goddamn shit about politics, man. I don't know nothing. Hey, I'm gonna keep it a stack. I'm gonna go ahead and say it. I don't give a fuck. Okay? Listen, I had a bad bitch that I've been trying to get for like the last 2 years that I haven't spoke to in like a year. I haven't spoke to this girl in so goddamn long who gonna have the audacity to text me, we need you a part of the campaign. At first I was thinking she was talking about like a game, a video game, like a Modern Warfare game, or some shit. Or if not that, a clothing brand. I'm like, what campaign? Shorty gonna say, we're not gonna get into details. Say it right now. If this some way, somehow, something was to go into where I do the stream of politics, I'm going to be 100% honest. I'm going to sit on my stream and say, why did you guys call me?
Okay, boomer.
You know, I don't know. I've never did anything with politics.
Sorry.
And these blogs are like trying to say, yo, gotta do the shit, God. And it's all the top blogs. And I'm like, bro, since when? The niggas.
Right? So that was an honest assessment. Now let's get into real quick wasted vote. And this is from LSD Law. So random definition, Vice Treasurer. Okay, so wasted vote. A quick definition of a wasted vote. Let's move this real quick. I appreciate your guys' comments. Thanks for being here. All POVs are welcome. I'm not trying to make you a duresser and force you or coerce you to do nothing. I'm just sharing information, just sharing information that you may not or may have been aware of. But let's get into a wasted vote, because my lovely sister, who I love, was like, sister, that's a wasted vote. You'll be voting for Trump if you don't vote for Kamala. And I was like, I have offense with that. I have a little of offense with that statement, because the act of voting isn't wasteful. And like the comment said, even if you don't vote, that's still a huge stance on what you feel are the current situations. And then I was even looking at the Jehovah Witnesses. You guys know they don't vote. They do not participate in politics. They're not participating. And there's a certain freedom in what Kai just said, and not giving a fuck. However, when you're to my age and you have other little ones and you really want to see the world change, and you understand you have to play by their rules and you have to get into their system in order to change the system, but it will require new heads of the system, then you finally end up participating perhaps later. But I didn't join the Jehovah's Witnesses. I just let them come in my house a couple times. But shout out to them for sticking to their morals, you know? So a wasted vote from LSD. A quick definition: a wasted vote is a vote that does not count towards any winning candidate. And that seems to be the overall consensus of a wasted vote. So if you guys vote for Kamala, one of the devils, one of the evils, because that's your prerogative, and we'll talk about all the other stuff later. We'll hope and pray that it works out, even though she'll say anything to get ahead, and it's well noted. If you vote for her and 45 wins, then you wasted your vote, just like you think I'm wasting my vote, because your candidate didn't win. This means that even if you vote and your vote this means even if you vote, your vote does not make a difference in the outcome of the election. It's important to make sure that your vote counts by researching the candidates, which you'd have to know there were 7 for you to research, okay? And their policies. Research Kamala's policies. Look at her policies. What are Kamala's policies? That's why I put it on the thumbnail. Policy update. What are her policies? Pledge of Allegiance to Israel. Not doing nothing for Black people. Whereas a more thorough explanation is a wasted vote is a vote that does not count toward any winning candidate. This means that the vote does not contribute to the election of any candidate. For example, if a person votes for a candidate who has no chance of winning, their vote was considered a wasted vote. For instance, in a presidential election, if the person votes for a third-party candidate who has no chance of winning, their vote is considered a wasted vote. This is because the candidate they voted for is unlikely to win, and their vote does not contribute towards the election of any candidate. Okay, so let's take it back one. Let's look at Kamala's issues. So this is, if you go to CNN Interactive, they have this up, because I was like, what are Kamala's policies? What are her policies? Everybody's like, oh, she's smart. Oh, she's brilliant. Oh, she's the first, this, that, and the other. And the only policy that she's actually admitted to is the anti-Asian crime bill, and the one that ended up allowing DAs to lock up Black mothers. So those 2 policies suck, by the way. Those 2 policies are crap policies, by the way, BT Dub. But what are her additional policies? I keep saying, even though Sleepy Joe is dipping out, Kamala is a continuation of Sleepy Joe's policies and rhetoric and actions and non-actions for that matter. So what has Kamala said are her issues as of August 4th, 2024? Okay. In the departure of her presidential run in 2020, Harris' campaign confirmed that she's moved away from many of her progressive stances, such as her interest in a single-payer health care insurance system and to ban fracking. You see that? She stepped away from that stuff. That sounds like it could help the environment. Huh. But she stepped away from helping the environment. Did you know there are candidates who want to help the environment? Did you know that? Who really want to stick with the ban on fracking? Really? Oh my gosh. There are, but you'd have to know about them. But do you know about them? Now you do. Harris is also expected to put her own stamp and style on matters ranging from abortion to the economy to immigration. Love you, husband. All as she aims to walk a fine line of taking credit for the administration's accomplishments while not being jointly blamed by voters for its shortcomings. You can't have your cake and eat it too. This is, hey, Marie Antoinette much? Okay. Sounds like she wants cake and to eat it too. In many of her speeches, she's voiced support for continuing Biden's measures, such as lowering drug costs. And even that, like, I appreciate that. But can they get some new regurgitated something? I mean, there's 300, let's give it 35 million Americans up in her. Not all of us are on drugs. Not all of us have student loan debt. A lot of us do experience junk fees. She's made it clear on her own views with Israel's treatment of Gazans, but she hasn't asked for a ceasefire and for Palestinians to have their houses back that they still carry the keys to around their necks if they still have necks. Interesting. So you guys want 4 more years of Biden, Sleepy Joe, and his policies for the people that aren't black unless they voted for him. That's enough for you, really? Table scraps again for the Negroes? You know that's why we had to start making chitlins taste so good, is because we only got table scraps. You know that, right? Table scraps is fine with you? So let's look at this. Abortion. Harris took the lead role for championing abortion rights for the administration after Roe v. Wade was overturned in June 2022. She started a reproductive freedom tour, and she's the first sitting president or vice president to an abortion clinic. Okay. So does that mean that she's believes in a woman's right to choose? Is that what she's saying? It sounds like that's what she should believe in. Economy. High prices are a top concern for many Americans who are struggling to afford the cost of living and the steep inflation under Biden. Most voters give Biden poor marks for his handling of the economy, and Harris will face the wrath. Already happening. Consumer debt. Hefty debt loads weigh people's finances, hurt their ability to buy homes. As vice president, she promoted Biden administrative initiatives on student debt. And speaking of which, did you know that all that money they promised to HBCUs has been reduced now? Like, they did give some money to HBCUs. And we already talked about over on the Real DNA's channel, we were talking about how getting federal money for the HBCUs actually just made it so you can't only let Black people in anymore. Like, they have to like incorporate now, you know, because they have to let everybody in, kind of like what they did in Florida, where they were like, you have to let other people into these historically Black places. And the only reason we had to make those is because we weren't safe among them, which was still like seems like we're not safe among them. Sometimes you're not even safe in your home. Rest in heaven, Sonia Macy. Healthcare. Harris, who's shifting. Oh, imagine that. Look at the word they even recognize. Oh, shifting stances. Shifting. We've already established that she'll say anything to get anywhere. Okay? Now she no longer supports the single payer healthcare program. She was advocating for the U.S. Backed insurance, but stopped short of wanting to eliminate private insurance. The measure called for transitioning Medicare from all types over 10 years, but continuing allowing insurance companies to offer Medicare plans when it comes to reducing costs. She previously proposed allowing the federal government to set a fair price for any drugs sold at a cheaper price, including in Canada. Oh, she likes Canada. Anyway, so flip-flopper, shifts in flip-flopping. Climate. She's been a champion of climate and environmental justice for decades. She enthusiastically supported the ban on fracking. But just in this late July, oh, look at that. She shifted again, you guys, and she no longer supports a fracking ban. Huh. That's so interesting. I'm not shocked or anything, but it sure is interesting that her pattern power is continuing to establish all the reasons why we can't trust her. Anybody who will say anything to get in your panties is not a good person. I hope you were lucky enough to have parents that warned you about that type of behavior, that everybody that smiles at you isn't your friend. And she be smiling and cackling a lot. I don't think she's our friend, though. I don't know. She be flip-flopping a lot. I bet her stances on immigration haven't really changed, though. Let's see. Harris quickly started trying to counter Trump's attacks on her immigration record. The vice oh, shit. Damn. She did change on this, too. She changed her position on border control since her 2020 campaign when she suggested that Democrats need to critically examine the role of immigration and customs enforcement after being asked why she sided with those in the party arguing to abolish ICE. In June of this year, the White House announced a crackdown on asylum. She would continue that under the Harris administration. She's only occasionally talked about her efforts in situations among the U.S. border with Mexico and the political vulnerability, but she will put her own stamp on the administrative efforts engaging the private sector. They do credit her ability to secure private sector investments. So we need to follow the money with this lady. Is that what they're saying? I wonder how much AIPAC has contributed to her. I mean, we know that the Black women for her raised some money. The white women for her raised some money. Have the Indians done a thing to raise some money? I'm sure they have. The white men did something to raise some money for her. I'd be interested to know how much AIPAC paid her, because we need to follow the money. If she was one position on fracking and now is another, is that because an awesome check cleared, or because she got some property somewhere, or because she got a Bitcoin somewhere? Why all the flip-flopping? What do you stand for? What is your moral compass? Is it okay to frack the world into oblivion, or is it not okay to frack the world into oblivion, Kamala? I'm asking for somebody who gives a fuck. We cannot look away from the face of these tragedies. We cannot allow ourselves to become numb to all the suffering, and I will not be silent. And then she pledged allegiance to Israel on her first day, on her first speech. Now, Harris emphasized the need to get Israeli hostages back. Okay. And then she named the 8 Israeli American hostages. And you know why they're Israeli American hostages? Because if you're Jewish in America, you get dual citizenship to Israel, and they don't even have a motherfucking place to be. But you get dual citizenship to an imaginary Israel because that shit is Palestine. Ukraine. Imagine that. She's going to have the same views for Ukraine. Last month, they gave 1.5 of my reparations to Ukraine on top of the 107 billion that they've already given to Ukraine over the last couple months. Interesting. Flip-flops and booty pops. Okay? Police funding. She also walked back. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. She's a comma, chameleon liar. You lie and lie just to get by. Lying is easy when you stand for nothing else. But how can I get this check to cash? Oh, and I love power so much that I'll say anything today just to get in touch. Comma, chameleon. She walked this back too. Oh my God, look at that. Pattern power. So we know that she's good at moonwalking. Does that make her blacker for you guys? Is that black enough that she can moonwalk on all her issues? Or was it the backpedaling and pussy popping? I'm not sure. Or was it the collard greens in the bathtub? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. But she did walk back the defund the police sentiment that when she was running for president herself, because she was saying anything to get Black people to vote for her, and then we didn't because we don't identify with her. What she meant to say is that she wants to be tough and smart on crime. Oh, tough enough to frame a teenager and smart enough to get away with it until you're forced to pay him $13.1 million. Interesting. Interesting. Okay, so those are our policies, a continuation of Biden. Okay, now this is in defense of a wasted vote, and I really resonated with this and liked it so much that I wanted to read it here together because I feel like I know this is a lot. I know I'm a lot. I know it. I know I'm a lot. I know it. Let's see. Let's read these comments. I think the issue is, Voice Twin says, I think the issue is she stands for nothing. That's the real issue. And we're all grappling with it. And that laugh is off-putting when you stand for nothing. It almost sounds like she's acting kind of jokerish, but at least even the Joker stands for something. This town needs an enema. Okay? At least the Joker stood for something. And he was willing to see it through to the end to get Gotham an enema that it deserved. Okay? But he did cackle a lot throughout it. Voice Twin says, if people bring up Trump in the Central Park 5 and Trump was a private citizen back then, Kamala needs to go through heavy scrutiny. Yes. And that's the thing. She should welcome the scrutiny because since that time, she should have been doing stuff to make lives better for people, but she hasn't. She's continued to say anything to get anywhere and continued to leave just like, there's a cartoon and like when the cartoon character goes through, it's just like destruction all behind. Tasmanian Devil, just leaving a trail of destruction all behind him. And he's over there. And then you look back and it's like everything's on fire, burning and tilted to the side. Yeah, so far. Politicians lie. So which one do we want? You know what? And that's a question that we should have been able to ask. We should have been able to hear the Viveks of the Democratic Party. We should have been able to hear the Haleys of the Democratic Party. We should have been able to hear those, but we weren't. So now we are stuck with these two liars, and it's not fair to the American people. That's awful, right? Isn't that horrible what happened to that man? I don't even know if $13.1 million is enough for the. I wonder if he has. He was actually on a TV show, and then he gets arrested. He probably thought his life was like on the upswing, and then he had to go on a detour into Kamala's hell, a Kamala made hell. I love Poliver. Okay, love you. I did the thumbs up. Gotta go. I love you. Mental health and all. I love it. I love it. Ah. Hey, Designs and Decor. I appreciate you being here. I hope it's not too much for you. I know I'm a lot. I'm sorry. Not sorry. The same way Kamala is sorry, not sorry. Mademoiselle says, but in the end, if I was in the US, I would vote for B over C. Yeah, exactly. Callie, Nola, did you look up the Cherry People story and interview? No, I need to find it. Look up the Cherry People story and interview. And let me look it up on my phone first. Let me see, because that's the easiest place to do it. Cherry People's story and interview.
Here's what I found.
This first album we bought, I guess. And now you guys got back together about 2-3 years ago. Did a gig in Jam and Jam. You know, the deal is, my brother and I never really stopped writing. And we didn't go out. We kept in the music. We always been writing. So, you know, it never really left us. Never really left us. So, and what are you doing these days as a solo artist?
I don't know. It came up a music group. Let's see what else Siri says. I don't know which one you're talking about. Is the way you spelled it the way I should be spelling it? Because I did it with a Y. CHEREE. Cherry Peoples. Cherry People's story and interview. Chronically ill mother. Oh, shit. Oh, and she has a full-on YouTube channel? Let's subscribe. She has 23 subscribers. She just got 24. Let's go. Let me go into YouTube real quick and pull her up. So people wanted to know about the Black men that were affected. Well, we're about to pull up a Black mother that was arrested based off of Kamala's horrible policies. The ones that she does put through are horrible for Black people. Let's see. CHEREE Peoples. Let's see. Let me make me small. So this is Cherry Peoples, chronically ill. Welcome. Okay, so this is her story about how she got arrested for truancy.
The hospital. Sickle cell is not pretty. Health. Make sure she lives another. Welcome. And today we're going to be talking about my story that is so.
Can you guys please go subscribe to Cherry People's podcast here on YouTube? She has 24 subscribers. I hope you guys will go over and support her. Let's try to get her up to like 30 subscribers while we listen to this video. I don't know how fast she talks, but let's speed it up a little bit. Again, for the fair use commentary, this is for teaching and education purposes, so we can make educated decisions about who we really want in the White House during the next 4 years, and to see if all skin folk are kinfolk. Let's see.
So dear to my heart. I love talking about my story. I love telling my story, and this is something that is my passion. I want to be able to help others that may be in the same situation as I've been, and I hope that my story can help you. That is my goal, is to be able to help you when you're going through a hardship, a hard time, like I did with my school district being arrested for truancy, and all I was trying to do was help my daughter ensure her health, make sure she lives another day. She has a hereditary condition called sickle cell anemia. It's very painful. She caught it from me and her dad. She got a gene from me, an S gene from me, an S gene from her dad, and she tested positive for sickle cell SS at that 2 weeks.
Thank you so much, Callie, because I literally was wanting to hear from one of these women. So shout out to you, Callie. I just dropped the link if anybody wants to come up and share their POV. I love it.
Oh, I knew she had sickle cell at 2 weeks old. I understood some of the issues that come along with sickle cell. They have the hands and feet get swollen. They have a lot of pain. They have a high risk of having a stroke. They have a high risk of infections. Getting sick is not an option for them. They have to have blood transfusions and spend a lot of time in the hospital. Sickle cell is not pretty. The one thing about me, because I have the sickle cell trait, it was to protect me from malaria. Because in Africa, malaria is a thing. You can die from malaria. And our genes manipulated itself just to save a whole entire culture of people. That is amazing, right? Me having sickle cell trait, it could be a blessing because I was able to live through malaria. So if I was in Africa, malaria won't kill me. That is a blessing. But what is not a blessing is when you mate with another person that has the trait, because it is a possibility that your child can test positive for sickle cell. I didn't know I had the trait. I didn't know. I knew about her father's, but I didn't know me. I told my doctor that they test me. I didn't get tested. Nope. I didn't find out that my child had sickle cell until she was 2 weeks old. Thankfully, to the state of California, children testing, because they have to all be tested for hereditary conditions. So they actually do a panel of different diseases, and Shayla's panel came back positive for sickle cell SS. And they tested me. I tested positive for the S trait, and we knew her dad, even though he tested again and tested positive, and they confirmed that my child has sickle cell SS. I've always been proactive with my daughter's healthcare ever since the beginning. Ever since the beginning, always been proactive. I read up on as much as I could with the data that was presented to me, made sure she went to her doctor's appointments. And you literally, from 3 months old, you're being followed by doctors, specialists. You get lung doctors. You probably have a cardiologist. You will have whatever issue you're dealing with. You may have a specialist in that area. So growing up with sickle cell at a very early age, and then having to transition into school age, her doctors would say, hey, Ms. Peoples, make sure you get a letter, make sure, you have meetings with the school and explain to them what sickle cell is. And if you need anything, let us know. And of course I did. As she got older and she grew, sickle cell don't change. You still got doctor's appointments you got to go to. You still got meds you got to pick up. When the weather changes and you're dealing with pain crisis, or they have a fever. And that's number one, is when they have a fever, that's automatic. You go into the hospital. There's no questions asked. You call the doctor or you call the exchange office and you tell them your child has a fever of 101. Can you please go to the emergency room right now? Is what they're going to tell you. They're not going to wait. Now, if you have a pain crisis and you're calling because you can't get the pain under control, they may give you a pain regimen that you can do for at least 72 hours. If it doesn't work within that time frame, then they're going to tell you to bring the child to the hospital so they can be more aggressive with higher doses of pain management, because it's illegal to leave the child in pain. I cannot legally leave my daughter in sickle cell pain because now I'm neglecting her health care. Sickle cell pain is not a typical, I bumped my knee pain. You're literally feeling.
So it sounds like Cherry is telling us that what ultimately she's going to tell us is that she's getting jailed for taking care of her daughter's health because of the policies of Kamala Harris. It's truancy law.
Needles and stabbing is what is being described to me, going through their veins. I remember a time when Shayla had to crawl around my house because her legs hurt so bad she couldn't walk. I was actually putting her on my back just to get her downstairs so we can go to the doctor's office, or trying to make sure we can do as much as we can at home before we went to the hospital, because she got to get poked so many times trying to find an IV. And this is before she had a porta-cap. So sickle cell is not the type of condition that you can plan or have a treatment plan for. It's not cancer. There's no treatment plan. I call it prevent from stuff from happening type plan. It's up to me to prevent her from being sick, making sure she's hydrated, making sure she takes her medicine around the clock, hydroxyurea and penicillin, the things that babies are put on when they're diagnosed with sickle cell. The number one thing is staying hydrated, keeping them warm. Change of temperature can cause a pain crisis. I remember going to the market as a single parent I went to the principal for sure. I asked. It's automatically generated. Don't worry. That's what I got. And that's literally what was told to me. I was pregnant with my son. I always wanted more than one child. And I was so thankful and blessed that I was able to have another child, even though my pregnancy was high risk. And I just would never forget being in the hospital, having him, and literally arguing with whoever was on the phone about a meeting. Like, how can I be in a meeting and I'm at the hospital delivering my baby? Like, make it make sense, right? Make it make sense. But I've been to the superintendent. I didn't even got her attendance overturned, y'all. She had 60 unexcused absences plus whatever reason. They had so many absences on Shayla. Okay. Whatever you need, I can provide documentation. I'm not keeping her home because I want her home. I'm not keeping her home because I don't want her to get the education that she deserves and that she needs. No, I'm keeping her home because the doctors told me to. Because I called them first before I even kept her home. Then the doctor said, Sheree, go ahead and apply and ask for IEP. This is before my arrest. Ask for IEP. I put it in writing, did everything I needed to do. To get a denial letter in the mail, letting me know she wasn't qualified for IEP, but she still had a 504. But I really didn't know the process about the IEP, so I went ahead and just redid the whole thing over instead of appealing it. I just said, forget it. I'm gonna just go ahead and try to fight for it one way or another. But meanwhile, next thing I know, while I'm working the process, they send an investigator to my house. Like, okay, because I know I'm working on the IEP and issues I'm having with the district, I'm thinking this investigation is to help me. I don't have a problem with the police. I ain't in the jail. What did I do wrong but trying to ensure my daughter's health? Like, I'm not out here trying to rob nobody. That's not what I'm trying to do. And then my child's father, my son's dad, wakes me up one morning, and I'm sure clearly didn't know what the heck he was saying to me. I just know somebody was at the door. I thought I know. I went downstairs to the door, and the police officer was there. He was like, oh, yeah, we have a warrant for your arrest, Ms. Peters. I was here the day that the investigation went down. So this whole entire investigation, I done pulled out documents and everything, was used against me. When I thought they were here to help me, I thought the school district was here to help. How is helping me arresting me? How is helping my child arresting me, though? Now you're taking me away from my home. And now I have a criminal case that I have to fight, on top of taking care of my daughter and my family during a time that was very, very hard for us. We was in transition a lot during this time. Trying to set up homeschool for her, being denied the homeschool because we were homeless and they couldn't do it at the library, and Shayla was sick, and I'm trying to do home hospital. They wouldn't do the home hospital because the hospital was out of the district, and because it was out of the district. So my thing is, if she was doing a home hospital the whole time, even though it was out of the district and that attendance was being counted, but yet they want to come and arrest me for truancy, and she was still enrolled in school though. But because it was two different districts and that attendance wasn't being accounted at her home district, this is why truancy needs not to be a criminal offense. Do we need things in place? Of course we do. Do we need the children to get education? Of course we do. Do we need the parent to go to criminal court? No, we don't. That is not something that we need in place. And it's definitely not fair when you find politicians using it and using you as a footstool. It's definitely not fair. When the whole entire time, all you're trying to do as a parent is to ensure your daughter's health and she lives another day. And for me to be arrested and go to jail for truancy over an issue in a condition that my daughter missed school behind is very, very unacceptable. For her to have a 504 plan, for it to be a federal document, and for me to encourage other parents to get a 504 to help protect them, how can I? I would love to tell my parents. I want to get a 504, and half the time I do. I do. But what is it really protecting? Because it sure in the hell didn't protect me, and it sure in the hell didn't protect my daughter because they were looking at her like a criminal. Oh, Miss Peoples, you need to bring her to the OC grip.
So does anybody see the pattern? Power for Kamala's desire to criminalize Black children. Her cops were keeping dossiers on 7-year-olds in the Hunters Point projects and in Bayview, criminalizing minors for being in poverty, and then following through on that criminalization with over-policing and ultimately framing that gentleman. And in this case, framing this woman for truancy, for being a good mom. Will she really be better than Trump? At least you know where you stand with Trump. At least Trump will call you an inner to your face. And he'll tell you that he thinks you're lazy and that you only like him because he likes tennis shoes. At least he'll tell you to his face. And he'll say it again and again and again and again. He doesn't backpedal, pussy pop, nothing. I said it and I'm not sorry. This is not an endorsement for 45. However, I mean, if you're looking at actions, he did do that to the Central Park Five. So neither one of them are really for us. But I don't know. Let's finish listening. This poor lady and her daughter. That's disgusting. I didn't even know I would be so affected by this story. This is horrible. And for this to be the first one that we find because of Callie Nola, thanks for coming through. For this to be the first story and it all was over a medical condition. Really?
And the grip is basically police officers, probation officers at the police department. And this young lady have sickle cell. Make it make sense. Why do she need probation officers for a condition? She ain't mixing.
Well, when you have an agenda to criminalize Black youth, which is for sure step and fetch in line with the 1994 crime bill, which labeled all Black youth as super predators that needed to be brought to be, what did she say? They're super predators and need to be brought to heel. Is that what lost Hillary the election? That and the hot sauce in her bag wasn't enough to get over the comments that she made about Black youth being super predators that needed to be brought to heel. That's what you do to dogs. You teach them how to heel. That's when you don't want them to get too ahead of their master. You need to make your dog heel. And that's how she identified Black youth. And that's what lost her the election. Because we don't forget that shit easy. But they sure wanted to forget it because Joe was charismatic or something, that he was the one that pinned the bill that she was calling people super predators about. And they let him be a vice president and then a president. And now they have this woman who he assigned to carry on his policies, who obviously feels like Black people's youth are super predators that need to have dossiers created on them and criminalize their health conditions and give them probation officers for having sickle cell, which is a Black only disease. Let me ask Suri, what race gets sickle cell?
In the United States, sickle cell anemia most commonly affects people of African, Mediterranean, and Middle Eastern descent.
Oh, so all Black and brown people. Really? Really? You guys. Let's go.
School because I'm not taking her just because I'm being lazy and I don't want to get up in the morning. She misses school because she literally has a condition that kept her out of school. So, do you have a child that has a condition? Are they sending you letters to your house? This is the reason why we need to get rid of the criminal aspect of truancy. Because no parent deserves to go through what I went through. No parent, it doesn't matter if they have a condition or not, to be threatened for your children to be taken away from you, to have to go to criminal court, to deal with fines when you already no income, you're already homeless. How you gonna come up with that money? So you might as well spend the time in jail. That means that's time away from your family. And now don't be on SSI or anything, or your job is to care for your loved one, and they're doing a life scan, and you can't even pass life scan because you got a record. So at the end of the day,
you see her troubled web of weaving deceit. But she's Black, y'all. She's Black, and I'm Black, and she's Black, y'all. And this is how she treats the people. She Black. Oh, I'm so Black. I'm born Black and I'll die Black. I'm born Black and I'll die Black. Oh, I love collard greens in my bathtub, and I was born Black and I'll die Black. But how does she treat Black people? Sounds like she actually has a lot of self-loathing going on for her Black side.
It's making it hard for you to get employment or keep a job, because I know when I was going through it, my job fired me because it came back on my background. I got fired, y'all. They let me off. It was like, you got to go. You have an open case. And because I had an open case and the case wasn't settled, I couldn't work. I was scared. I didn't have nobody to turn to. I didn't want to tell anybody I was homeless because I really didn't want them to come in and take my kids. And then when Shayla had her stroke while I was going through my case, because she saw me on TV, y'all. That was the worst thing that a parent can ever know, that your child seeing you get arrested on TV, and how that affected her. And that this will be affecting me to this day. And then turn around some years later, you get a knock on the door from HuffPost asking you for your story because they know you got arrested having a child with sickle cell for truancy. And now your mind is really bobbled because when you was really trying to find attorneys to help you fight the district, it's like you was Black. Like nobody wanted to help me. Nobody. And then next thing you hear is Kamala Harris is running for president, and she had her fingers all up in this truancy mess. She was the one that made truancy a criminal offense for parents. And they want to know, how did I get sucked up into all this mess? I want to know too. Like, I didn't have documents to prove that she had sickle cell. Like, they couldn't just come ask me. I had to actually go to criminal court to prove my daughter had sickle cell, and the hospital documentation wasn't enough. Make it make sense. And then come back to me some odd years later to say, oh, Kamala Harris is running for president, and that's the reason why, because she put a policy in place that Arnold Schwarzenegger made possible. And because my district attorney took heed to the letter that Kamala Harris sent out, and putting people on notice about truancy, he went ahead and put parents on notice. He put them on notice to the point where he made sure that cameras was there at the house so it could be documented and shown that, hey, if your kids miss school, this is what's going to happen to you. But it just took a really good friend of mine to tell me, hey, Sheree, I need you to sit down. I want you to do me a really, really good favor and Google yourself. I never thought about Googling myself. It was just, okay. She said, Google yourself. I know I did. I wasn't sitting down, but I did. And when I tell you the things that I found, and I realized that I was just set up to be somebody's political pawn, but that is what I'm not. And I know God has blessed me with this test for a testimony. And I just wanted to share my test with you, my testimony with you. And hope it.
So you guys be sure to go over and subscribe to her. Did anybody go subscribe? Did she even get like one more subscriber while we were in here? Curvies. Show a sister some love and go subscribe over there. Let's see. So the last thing we're going to play is Kamala can play in our face all day long. We went over her policies or lack thereof. She doesn't have any. Everything is back pussy, pollen, all the stuff. She's moonwalking on all of her stuff. She has no moral compass that she adheres to on a continuous basis, except confusion. I think that should be her brand, is confusion. We went over her policies. They're a continuation of freaking Biden. We went over Kai Cenat. I don't know if they were offering to pay Kai or what, but some other celebrities have come forward and said allegedly they were offering, if you say this, then we'll give you this. Ben Stiller wants to be black and admitted that all the Jewish men want to be black. They don't stand up for nothing black, though. I've never heard Ben Stiller say anything about anything when there's commotion going on in the black community. Never have I ever. Never have I ever. I didn't get into Walz today, but we what do they call him? Tampon Tom or something? Because he wants tampons in boys' bathrooms at school for 12th grade and under, because if your child who isn't an adult is in transition, and I don't know who's doing that to their children. I don't know what person is allowing a minor to make life-altering decisions over their bodies. I'm not sure, but in his state, it's happening. And because it's happening in his state, they need tampons in boys' bathrooms. So if your kid happens to be in transition and not completed yet, I mean, they haven't even finished puberty yet, but they're allowing them to change stuff. The only person that flip-flops more than Kamala Harris is a teenager. They like soccer today and drums tomorrow. Just like Kamala likes fracking today and no fracking tomorrow. Callie Nola's in the back. What's good, girl?
Oh,
Thanks for-
hey. Actually, I got to go back to work. I just wanted to say hi.
Hi, I'm sorry. You have any 2 cents, but I'll shut up.
Well, okay. I just kind of feel like when I talk to you guys, I'm talking to people that already get it. And it's a little frustrating because it's hard to reach the people that don't quite understand. And I think the root of what's happening is, unfortunately, I think that I honestly feel that this is something that is exclusive to Native Black Americans, that we don't understand that we have an ethnicity. Like, we're trying to identify with this broad category of race that was actually invented. So it's a whole history behind that. But basically, it was something that they invented to differentiate us from the white people that were also servants and stuff like that. Like, they just invented this in the 1600s.
Mm-hmm.
We do have an ethnicity and we have a native nationality. And I think what has happened, because we sort of don't understand that, in the 60s, we were sort of sold this Pan-Africanism diaspora stuff that, from what I'm able to research, was actually started by people that weren't from this country. That we don't really understand that we are a different ethnicity. Like, it doesn't matter if this woman is Black, this woman is a different ethnicity, and she's not necessarily going to have the same connection or empathy or even understand the needs that we have as a people. So it doesn't matter if I personally, I agree. I don't believe she's Black. I think the whole thing is a scam. But even if she was, she's not us. Not only is she not us, she's immigrant. And I'm not trying to be anti-immigrant, but when it comes to politics, we are a working class group of people that are literally at the bottom of society. So bringing more people here will never benefit us, ever. Like, it will always be against our interest. And I almost am starting to feel, and I need to research this more, if maybe this Pan-Africanism stuff was actually created to sort of make us not understand that. Like, it was like a social conditioning thing so that we continue to vote for, politically, for people that are actually bringing people here that are actually aiding in our oppression, whether if they know it or not, because they're usually being brought here to either undercut us or fill positions that we can't fill because they don't invest in our school system.
Correct.
So instead of them having to invest the money to create the environment and the education for us to become engineers, they bring engineers here from India.
Right.
So now that the United States or the state of California, LA County, whoever, does not have to make that investment. They can, you know what I mean? It's easier for them to import people than for them to actually try to make an investment in us. And then if they make an investment in us, then who's going to be on the bottom?
Right.
Somebody has to be on the bottom for the system to work. So what happens is, instead of them giving us as American citizens the things that we should have as American citizens, we constantly get pushed to the bottom and they just keep importing more people here. And so there really is never going to be a way politically for us to sort of be like, we're all Black and we're all the same. Not in this system.
Right.
It can never work that way. But I also think with Kamala Harris, if you look up her speech that she gave about the Freeman Bank, this is actually her agenda in the way that she thinks. Any little thing that was actually meant for us, she wants to take it and have it be
for everybody,
used for immigrants.
Yeah.
For immigrants. I mean, that is literally, this is not something, and I don't think she feels that she's doing anything wrong, because I don't think that she fully understands the position that we are in, because she's not actually a part of our community. She doesn't have the history. I work with a lot of people internationally because I work in tech. They literally do not understand what has happened to African American people. Like, they don't. They know bits and pieces. They know Martin Luther King. They know that we were once slaves. They're not quite sure when it ended. They don't really understand about convict leasing, sharecropping. They have no understanding, redlining. They really don't understand. Like, they think that the communities that we live in, we actually came together and created these communities. No, we were redlined here. My family originally lived in Santa Monica. When we came out from Louisiana, we all
I love
got
Santa
ran out of
Monica.
Santa Monica.
I went to Samo High, Callie. I went to Samo High.
Yeah, really? This was before my time. This was in the 70s. But my family originally, when we came out here from Louisiana, we all lived in Santa Monica. We all got ran out of Santa Monica. There used to be a Black community in Santa Monica where they had businesses and nightclubs and all of that stuff. None of that is there anymore. We're being really systemically ran out of Los Angeles altogether. Is this, you have a few,
and that's what happened
here.
to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have a few people
it's
here
like,
that sort of had enough money to hold on.
Uh-huh.
And that's why we're still here. And when I say money, I mean like there are people, just regular everyday people, but they're worth over $1 million because of the property that they own. So that's how we've sort of been able to stay here. But
Right.
yeah, they have, I mean, it was systemically done. Reagan used to be the governor of California. It is my belief that Reagan looked around California and he saw people that were supposed to be at the bottom doing very, very well in the early
Yeah.
70s. And he said, these people could stand to be a little bit poorer, and we can stand to find some people that we could pay a little bit less. And so this
Right.
cycle started of importing people. Not that there weren't immigrants before, but not in that mass amount.
That's true.
That's just my 2 cents. But
I
all of these
appreciate that
people thinking
POV.
that Camilla's just like them and she's a Black woman and all of like that poor man in that video, I felt very bad for him.
Wasn't
Because
that horrible?
I have actually worked with a lot of Indian people. One thing I can tell you, they are very, very colorist. I'm lighter skinned. I really feel that they would not have worked with me if I was not.
Right.
Also, I have encountered some Indian people that will sort of pass themselves off as a Black person,
And I was
especially
just
if they are
talking
the
about Mindy
only
Keeling's
person
brother.
there and they kind of want to fit in. I've seen it done before. I've
Callie, you
seen
know
them get
about Mindy.
braids,
Oh my
locks,
God. Can you guys
emulate the
hear
way
me?
we talk,
Hello?
listen to our
Hello?
music. I mean, this is a known thing.
Hello?
Like this is something that is done, especially
Hello?
if they're from the Caribbean, because they know we don't really understand that there is a huge population of Indians in the Caribbean and in certain parts of Africa. So they'll
Right.
tell you, oh, I'm African, I'm Jamaican. And if you kind of don't really get to know them or you never see their family, you might think this is a Black person or this is a biracial person. No, this is an Indian person. They just
Yeah.
gave you a nationality instead of their actual background because they
Mhm. Hey, voice twin, what's good? What's good? What's good?
Hi,
Uh-oh.
voice. When I'm here,
Hi.
just listening to the previous caller. Just two things. Two things, Larja. Number one, Black women, Black American women are HR. They are HR. You are not going to see another immigrant group when it comes to certain positions in these companies. When human resources, DEI, affirmative action, trust them, even in education, certain positions like dean of student life, like borderline compliance, and compliance is a cost. It doesn't produce that particular line of business. Human resources being the number one. I say all of that because this is where Black women are. So if you're in human resources, you're in a position to hire and terminate, hire and fire. Also, I do want to state, when it comes to this administration, one thing I have absolutely noticed, not with some of the work I do with government and just in my daily life, the number of Black women who are in managerial positions. Where, like, I remember when I was younger, you would always see like a white woman, young white woman who was the manager of a retail store. She was always the manager, and everybody else was, her direct report, but she was the manager. Now, really within, like, I would say 5-10 years, you're seeing Black women, as opposed to like maybe McDonald's, but like retail stores, clothing stores, like high-end retail, electronics, they are the management. On top of HR is Black women that I've only experienced throughout my working career. I say this because Black people in general have access to this money and resources that is distributed, not just at state level, but also at federal level. You would have block grants that are basically given out to the state. There is nothing that is not provided first. Of course, it's going to be white women, white people, but Black people to not receive money, that is unequivocally, it always happens. There is always, always, always money allotted. Not only when you're looking at affirmative action, which is where you're seeing, yes, white women, they are the number one beneficiary, But when you're also looking at when you're looking at Black corporate America being brought in through affirmative action, this has been occurring heavily since Bush. Not just George W., but even back when you're looking at the first Bush with Reagan in the 80s, the beginning of the Black middle class, Black people, corporate America, especially when in the 80s with the rise of finance. You are seeing Black people, like FBA, ADOS, Black America, present always. It is very, very hard pressed throughout the 80s, 90s, where your Black people are not present, albeit a smaller number. But the goal is to be at parity to Black stats in America. So if Black people are 14% of the population, you want to have 14% at least your workforce be Black people. And it's going to be Black America first and foremost, always. There is, like, when you're looking into technology, because technology outsources a lot of their work. A lot of the work in technology, especially now with inflation, they're moving everything offshore. So you have a lot of these companies, Indian companies, where they are basically contracted with these larger corporations. And you can definitely get in. But a lot of these companies, it is very, very diverse. It's very diverse. And, you know, the other caller can say what they want to say, but there's certain industries where it's so work intensive, it's so solution driven, it's going to be vastly different than what other type of work, technology in of itself, of this type of work is very, very different. So not only it lends itself really to immigrants, because it is a very, very clear specialized skill, which can be learned, but whether you're going to learn this skill or you're not. You know, for example, coding, which that in of itself is outsourced. That's outsourced. Like a lot of that is outsourced to outside the United States. But it's very specialized, and it does lend itself a lot to men because it's very unpredictable. You work, but you're working throughout the night. You have to work, like imagine working Saturday night, being up 6, 7, 8 hours, coming into Sunday morning. It's a type of work that it's not necessarily going to lend itself to women. I personally have worked excellent women in this industry, but it's very, 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 it is hard. Like it's just mind intensive. It is hard. And you can't, and when bringing up immigrants, there's certain aspects to certain of these positions, especially specialized positions, since technology is being mentioned, they're going to have to only hire Americans for a multitude of reasons. Not just the security aspects, but also just communication. Because a lot of what's going on now in this industry is just problem solving. So we can bring up, colorism. You can bring it's so beyond irrelevant because you have to perform. You have to get at your desk, log in, and you just have to work. Furthermore, a lot of this work is work from home. So the colorism argument is such a moot point because they can't even see you. They're not you're primarily at home. You have to log in at home. You don't even know it's hybrid. So even if you're having issues with people, you don't have an assigned seat and you're there 2-3 times a week and you're only there for a few hours.
I got it, Emmanuel. I'm going to play it in a second.
Yeah, I work from home. They do still see you, whether if it's on Zoom or not. My company is very international. We have literally employees all over the world. I'm telling you, I've worked in this industry for almost 20 years. I've actually seen blatant job discrimination happen. Not at my current company, but I have seen them hire somebody who is from Russia or India, and they will only hire their own people and not a word is said about it.
Right.
I mean, we can't act like this stuff just doesn't exist. It's not going to solve anything to pretend like it's not happening.
And the exact same thing happens in the United States. There is always a preference for Americans. There is certain work, they're going to outsource it because it's much. Here's one thing I need to tell you, Larja.
No, I'm not talking about outsourcing. These people were employees.
Larja.
They worked in the office with us. I'm not talking about things that were outside.
Yeah, Kelly, no, yeah, we know, we get it. Larja, for every 3 international, it's one American. It's so cost effective. It's you're going to have a few people on site, and a lot of the work is going to be pushed out. It has to be pushed out. It's so massive, and it's getting so expensive. And technology in and of itself is very expensive. Also, larger. Larger. It has to be known. It is getting more difficult now. These jobs not only with the advancement of AI.
AI.
A lot of these, it's not, there are certain positions that are not only are gone, they're never going to go away. A job work that you did at a job in 2007, that job is fully and completely automated and has been really for 10 years. Now we're moving into the more specialized skills or is now being automated. So one thing I do have to say, and one thing that's getting very well known, especially here in the United States, the technical requirement has now drastically reduced. You don't have to be as quote unquote technical as you had to be, let's say 5-10 years ago. You had to bring a certain level of skill that honestly, I don't want to go in too deep, but really it's a type of skill that only comes where you were born, raised in an English speaking society. The amount of communication, I mean, just speaking and writing English is incredibly difficult. And a lot of people really cannot do that. Now in these jobs, I can outsource a Java developer, and you can now you can have a Java developer team in India, and you only need just one person, just one American, who will be the one to deliver the actual product and then communicate on site or quote unquote internationally. It's the type of skill, the reasoning that is needed now. Not only you have to go to college, it's not a place where you really need to have written a paper. Like, do you even know what a thesis is? Like, you need to be able to properly formulate an argument. And that's in technology, because I can all the coder, and which is hard and important, but you don't necessarily need an entire team of American Java developers. They don't even have that now. And a lot of these people who have positions like regulatory positions, look, AI is going after lawyers. And so a lot of the work that an attorney would have done as a first year, that's now AI. You really have to be so specialized now in the United States. You really have to come into these jobs with a very clear, discernible skill. You have to come into these jobs already knowing a tool, like a particular tool. When we were younger, it was just Excel. It was Excel. Look, you can just start working with just.
Girl, I'm old enough that I had to put 10 key, fax machine, dot matrix, all that stuff.
Oh my God.
Now,
I used to have to take a typing test and be able to have my work per minute.
That is so 90s kids, like having an actual, like a class where you learn typing. That is so 90s kids. That doesn't even exist anymore.
Right.
These kids now, I'll tell you, for your children now, Larja, first and foremost, I would not, for your child, do not leave high school without calculus. You cannot leave high school without calculus. You could get away with it when we were younger. You cannot even now. Moreover, these kids are now they're learning Windows basically as in elementary school.
Yeah.
Now it's coming at Excel, SQL, which is not coding. SQL is a querying language, which something I learned like 10 years ago, really learned it 10 years ago. At this time, a high schooler needs to go through really 8th grade. It's Excel, SQL, now Python. This is the expected technology stack. Before your kid even leaves high school, they need to get all three. They need to be familiar now with coding. And it doesn't even need to be like a hard language like C or Java. And Python, it's pretty easy to learn. But a lot of adults like our age are not going to sit and take the time. Your brain, is your brain accepting to learn new information? A high schooler's brain learns new information. And these kids today, and we're basically talking Gen Alpha now, because Gen
Alpha is off the hook.
They're Gen Z. We're not, and now we have the pandemic babies. They're not even the pandemic babies, are like the next generation. They had to leave high school. They must leave high school with calculus. You cannot leave high school without calculus. And you have to leave with a coding language. It is now coming at a point where and I didn't even speak about the fact that the English majors, the liberal arts majors, they're doing way better because they understand reasoning. Like it's so competitive now. And I say all of this because people can complain, immigrants and not investing. The government's not going to invest in you. They don't care. The government's just not going to do it. People can complain, you're not doing enough. They're not going to do it. Because if you can't compete, somebody else will.
No, I think if we did politics better, they would. The government works for us. They're not our masters. You know what I mean? I just really think that we don't do politics right. And this is why as Americans, we are not getting the things that we should be getting.
I don't know if you were here earlier, Callie, but that's what I was saying, that we keep picking between two infested ass cheeks. We keep getting shit on. And then we're like, oh, well, just vote for this devil and we'll figure it out later. And now it's 450 years of laters. And when are we going to stop falling for the okie doke and voting for the ass cheeks?
And politics is local. And like I mentioned, if your local politics, they're receiving the grant money. All of the
that part too. We talked about that part too. That's where you really get it.
Like even federal, of course, federal elections, especially in certain states, like you're in California. We all know California is going to be straight blue, and the last Republican is Reagan. Like we're probably not. Well, no, there was Schwarzenegger. He was Republican. But
Schwarzenegger was Republican.
I mean, if there's going to be I guess California, Larja, there was maybe a Republican governor, and maybe Schwarzenegger's son, the Kennedy boy, Patrick Schwarzenegger, maybe he could run. But then, of course, he's a Kennedy. So he's still going to have that Democrat leaning fact.
Right. I don't see a Democrat getting back in after Gavin. I really don't.
It's going to be,
yeah, that's what we're thinking, actually.
So you really believe that California will elect a Republican governor? That would
be oh
my God, totally right now. The way these mags are, definitely.
It's always been a saying.
Let's say, is Democrat politics I'm a Democrat? Is California local politics completely Democrat? I'm assuming it is.
It depends on where you live.
So I'm assuming that within the larger cities, yes, it's blue. But once you get outside, I guess, to the areas of California, that's more like the desert.
No, you don't even have to go that far. You just go to Orange County. Orange County is Trump land, baby. Mega
Orange County, San Diego,
go to Westlake Village.
I'm in the Central California, and there's Trump everywhere out here.
So yeah, you don't even have to go like way out, like to like the Inland Empire or anything like that. Really, you could just go really away from the Black community.
Yeah, or next door.
Yeah.
Okay, so dividing all amongst us. Let me play this real quick, ladies. Let me play this, because after listening to, we heard, finally, we heard from one of the Black men she arrested for nothing, caught him up for 6 years to the point where he had to get $13.1 million awarded to him. Then we followed it up with the mother, who's Black, who was jailed, and her daughter was assigned a probation officer for being sick and taking care of her sick child. And I want us to understand what we're dealing with here when we think about Kamala Harris, her and her cackling, her and her backpedaling, pussy popping ways, her moonwalking on issues, but she understands the essence of everything she does. Just listen to this, her own admission. Listen to this. This is crazy.
Kind of power. You know, the power I have as a prosecutor is that with a swipe of my pen, I can charge someone with a misdemeanor, the lowest level offense possible. And by virtue of that swipe of my pen, you will have to go to a courthouse and stand in line. You will have to come out of pocket and hire an attorney. You may get arrested for a few hours. You will be embarrassed in your community. You will miss time from coming onto the Google campus, all because with the swipe of my pen, I've charged you with a crime, which I may choose to dismiss 2 weeks later. It's an incredible amount of power.
Facts.
Isn't that crazy?
So
that's what we're dealing with.
The most important person when it comes to who can change your life, Bill O'Reilly actually said what she just said, is the district attorney, the DA, the ability for everybody. I mean, look what happened, what's going on with Trump. What a DA can do to your life. What a DA, and this is Fani in Atlanta. What she has, I mean, think about what she has done to a United States president. What one woman, a Black woman in Fulton County, whether it be politics or she really, really believed Trump committed crimes, she has been able to, I mean, she got Trump's mugshot. That's something interesting. The fact that a Black woman from Fulton County, Georgia, was able to get Trump's mugshot and his associates and charge him with crimes. And not the governor, and the governor really not to interfere or to get himself in trouble. Kemp can't even do much about it. There's been major pushback. I don't know what the most recent standing is, Larja, but at the end of the day, she still got that. She got a mugshot of
DAs are in our local elections, people. Local elections, sheriffs who punch ladies in the face on the side of the road. They're in charge of that department. Our local election, DAs who obviously know their power and can criminalize truancy, even if you have a medical condition. Local election, okay? So get with these local elections, even if you don't feel like doing this whole presidential thing, which I have another thing that we can show about the 570 electorals and they need 270. And so basically, yeah, your vote counted a little bit, but there's still some other things happening. Your vote literally counts the most in a local election, you guys. They have to count it in the local election, okay? So I'm really glad that we brought that up. But what do you think about her statement right there? Like, that's crazy that she knows what she did.
I'm wondering why everyone who's so concerned about the police having immunity thinks that a prosecutor should be the president of the United States. Like, people are not being realistic about this. They're identifying with someone, first of all, that doesn't even have their same background, unless you're a half Indian, half Jamaican person that grew up in Canada.
Right.
It's just really it's concerning to me, because I kind of feel like they set this up. I don't think that Biden is falling apart. Like, this man is a very hard 80. I don't think that they really thought this man was going to be. I think this whole thing was orchestrated so she wouldn't have to go through the primaries.
I agree.
And I also
agree. It's a setup. The setup is in full effect.
To see what we will fall for, how we could be tricked, what we'll go for. I think that this is like, you know what I mean? Like, let's see how stupid they are. Let's see what we can get over on them.
And basically what they're asking for is $1,500 for anti-Trump content on TikTok. So they basically sent me this kind of like creator brief with all the asks that they have and everything, and like do's and don'ts, like don't show any form of support for Donald Trump and his allies, gloat about Harris and her allies, attack Trump supporters for their intellectual or personal values. So they're basically creating division and paying for division online, which is crazy. So me being me, I was like, I kind of got to investigate this stuff. So I started like emailing back and forth with the lady. So I basically said, thank you for sending over. I will review. Is the Kamala campaign, is this for the Kamala campaign or for like a PAX campaign? And basically I was able to investigate and find out that this is actually a campaign with Future Forward, which is kind of like one of the biggest super PACs. And they have like millions and millions of dollars. Hundreds of millions of dollars for advertisements for the Biden campaign and for the Harris campaign. So, of course, I looked them up and I found out all this information about all the money that they have. And yeah, you can look up them right here. Anyway.
So I was showing you that, Callie, because it's a setup. The fix is in. You're on the right path. You don't have to be, what you just said makes perfect sense. How can it be anything but a setup that the United States, DNC, whoever's in charge, APAC, whatever we're dealing with, usurped the democratic process and did not allow us to hear alternative ideals or policies that could affect us, force-fed us Sleepy Joe, and now they're force-feeding us Moonwalker.
Also, I was just about to say right before you played that clip is that this is where all that donation money is going. Like, you ever look at all of that donation money, you go, what the heck do they need all that money for? To do stuff like this. And yes, they do pay these celebrities. Diddy was paid well by the Democrats for years.
Oh, for that whole rock the vote thing that he was doing?
Yeah. He didn't even vote. That's a brand deal. Like, I mean, like, that's what these celebrities do. They become famous and they sell the idea that they're rich and famous to actually get money, because a lot of them don't actually have this money. But they sell the it's all this like social conditioning, and it's gotten really, really bad when we started having the 24-hour news cycle and the blogs and the social media and the Twitter. That's how the Kardashians got famous, because they paid to do stuff like this.
Right.
There's no reason for those people to be famous at all. They're nobody. But they
shout out to Emmanuel for sharing
this type
with
of
us.
stuff.
Yeah, this is crazy though, you guys. We need to. I think you said in the comments too, Voice Twin, to follow the money. They only care about money. Didn't you make a comment like that in the comments? It said something about money.
I really wish we could collect some money to sort of run some ads to educate people and tell people to look down their ballot, vote on their local issues, and that there are other candidates running. I really wish that some of those hundreds of millions of dollars that they gave to this woman with no agenda. Why are you giving money to a person that doesn't even have an agenda up? It's insane. This is scaring me, because I don't really know what the plan is here and why they're trying to pull this little coup. And this honestly scares me more than Trump. I don't like Trump. I think he's underqualified. I don't think he knows what he's doing. I don't think he understands government. But this scares me a lot more than him.
Me too. Like I was saying, people need to be very concerned. I'm shocked that more people aren't concerned, because the way they feel like 45 is going to lead us to Gilead, this will lead us to Gilead.
Not Gilead.
You know why they're not concerned? Because they think that they are voting for Michelle Obama or Oprah Winfrey or Gail, like some American black lady that understands an American experience and that looks at this country through the eyes of an American. That's who they think that they're backing.
Okay, Larja, why would you assume? Well, not you, Larja, but why would it be assumed that she would not understand the quote unquote American experience? You know how
you can tell by the things she's done.
You know how you have people who make comments, I'm not black, I'm mixed, like they make these comments. Non-black people are not looking at you and seeing mixed, and I definitely are not seeing white. There's like here's
let me just real quick. Let me answer that. This is because this is the same woman who told Amanda Seales, and that might not be a great reference point for some people, but she literally told Amanda Seales that she doesn't want to call America racist because she would have to call people racist. And a black person with a black experience in America would be so willing to point that out.
Larja, are you sure about that? There have been plenty of black people, black Americans who have quote unquote like either Uncle Tom'd or shucked and jived.
Well, Clarence Thomas
to get
Clarence Thomas. You're right. Not everybody.
Yeah, but that's like laid black people.
But there has been even look at you could actually say that about art. I mean, someone could actually say that about the entire Congressional Black Caucus, because the power they have is pretty significant. And you've been hearing these stories time and time again. I mean, I just watched a video about somebody kind of touching on that when it came to Tom Joyner. And then, there's that comment, like the wake up call, eventually the wake up call is going to happen. So just to put that, like Kamala can make these comments, but to say that somebody else who is from the experience is not also going to say that that's just not.
No, that's not exactly what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying.
Well, that's what I said. Maybe I'm feeling just like, if you really did experience these things.
What we have to remind everyone of, there's two very, very different types of Native Black people. And some people might call them the Black Boule, and then there's regular Black people. The Boule is a very, 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 very small population, and they almost have not lived a regular Black experience. And if you start tracing their lineage back, you will find that a lot of them are like descendants of free men, or, you know, white women that had a child with a Black man when we were all enslaved. And so therefore their ancestor was free. Like they come from that. A lot of these people come from that sort of a lineage, or they were able to get a hold to some money in the 1800s that no other Black person had. Those oftentimes end up being the people that really get into politics and speak for us, but they don't represent none of us. That's like the 0.000000%. Like, you know what I, that's not even the 1%.
Yeah.
And those people, they don't like us. They do look down on us. They do have a very low opinion of this regular, everyday working Black people. They're horrible. They're worse than a lot of white people.
Yeah. They
So,
don't like us in as far as their
yeah.
conditioning or perception of what this world has to offer because of the opportunities that they have in fact been afforded. So they're like, oh, it can't, I got this and I'm Black. That kind of feels like it could be what they're saying. And so it's not everything can be traced back to the racism or the racist systems that everybody or some people are willing to acknowledge the country was built off of. However, for a larger swath of the Black American culture, I do believe that when we see racism, we want it to stop. We want, and the only way, let's go to Alcoholics Anonymous for a second. And the only way to get over the addiction of racism is to address that there's racism. You can't keep on pretending like, oh, well, because I got it and you didn't get it, it's not because of Black stuff. It still is because of the oppression of Black people. And just because you're not experiencing it in real time and you don't come from that cloth, so to speak, doesn't mean that your brothers and sisters everywhere aren't still suffering because of that imposition. I feel like also, like, you can choose, I could choose to just ignore it. I could choose to, but my sons who are in the other room, if I ignore it, then it'll just be some more years before it reaches them.
Margie,
So
you make an excellent point. And really, to start with that, when we're recognizing racism, then it's really important for Black people to recognize how they treat each other when it comes to racism. Like colorism, racism, it's one and the same. So if there's issues outside the Black community when it comes and is concerned with racism, which of course there is, and there are, then it needs to be addressed first and foremost within the Black community. And that's like everybody Black in America. Because that first and foremost, when it comes what you're experiencing in the community, it's being taken outside. One thing I know for a fact, and I've experienced this, not only do Black people, the racism, colorism within the community, they will also weaponize that racism with white people against other Black people. There's no solidarity, largely.
Yeah. There are.
There's zero solidarity. Have no problem. And this is not even trying to get a benefit. Like, this is just, you will have a Black person who has such hatred, and it's racism, towards another Black person. They have no qualms to bring their racism to the workplace and cause total and complete destruction. Bring a level of liability where the company is getting sued, where production, where you will cost the company money because you're harassing, abusing the people who do the work and make money, production. Like, that's problem number one. Like, what's a lot of people don't see, and I've experienced this, is that you will have white people who are racist, absolutely racist. There's nothing you can do about that. But that does not have to say that you're going to consistently move your actions in racism. That there comes a point, and that, like, yes, you have your racism, but you have to fold this back. You have to let this go for one, optics, and number two, money. Whatever you feel, I still have whatever your condition or your predisposition towards Black people or any other group that you have your racist hatred towards Are you going to allow that racism to govern your actions when it comes to money and when it comes to actually having a business function, operations? That's number one in the workplace, because we all need income. The vast majority of Americans are on W-2, but we all are working together in some capacity. The real issue is if you can be a Black person and work in an environment and leave other Black people alone. Like, this is something that this is like, nobody wants to discuss that. We keep talking about no money, issues with education. There is money to be had. They print this money. There's money available. Are you Black people, Black community as a whole, willing to work as a collective, as a unit, to not only obtain this money and actually build other people? You have Black women in HR. You have a very big position availability to hire and fire Black people. You do. How are you treating other Black people in the workplace? Are you causing disruption to other Black people in the workplace? Are you physically assaulting? Are you gossiping, demeaning, scamming, hustling other Black people in the workplace? More than likely, not only are Black people doing that to other Black people know and they see it happen, and they sit down and they say nothing. So until that's the big issue. Black just needs to deal with the racism that is so prevalent inside, because you are willing to use that as a weapon, as a trigger, willing to instigate it, like to fester the racism in white people, willing to partner up with a white person to go after another Black person at your job. Like we talk about that, it's the workplace first and foremost. If you want money for education, you still need to have the education to even be qualified to get into these jobs. No one's going to train you. You're Black. You do have to get moving very quickly. You're more than likely, you're not going to have someone who's going to sit down and be really ready, willing to train you. They will do so much, but the expectation is you've already been hired for the role. The expectation is you have this skill. However you got into the company, you're in the company, you need to sit and learn. Are you as a Black person going to take the time to sit at your desk and learn these appropriate skills and tasks to do your job? Or are you going to use your time on payroll to harass and abuse, gossip, demean, scam, denigrate, harass, stalk other Black people?
Well,
everything else is just irrelevant.
I've been thinking about this a lot. I don't know how we would do this, but I do think that this idea of us all coming together is never, ever going to happen. I wish that there was a way to get like-minded Black people together and to make some moves politically. And if the other people benefit, they benefit. If they don't, they don't. But I feel like this all-encompassing unity in us trying to make that happen is the reason why we're not going to move forward, because there are people who are just like what you described. They're whether if you want to I just call them racist. If you want to call it internalized racism or whatever. But yes, I have encountered that as well. I'm sure any other Black person that has worked with other Black people in corporate America has encountered this.
We know Tamar encountered it from Bonnie Love.
Yeah. So I don't know what the solution for that would be, because I think, and this is some of the confusion that we're now starting to have with other people of color that are now in this country, because we all sort of look alike. We don't know who is who, and we don't quite understand that this person is not us. They have their own group, and that's who they care about. And it's the same thing, I feel like, amongst us. There are people that they just have that, even though they're Black themselves. Kanye West is a good example of this. They're racist. They are just as racist as any white person. They believe in white supremacy, and they will do whatever they can to hurt you, oppress you, or whatever at any opportunity that they are given. I don't know how we separate from those people, but we need to separate from those people. I just don't know.
You know what a big problem? A lot of Black people are not willing. I think every other race, well, no, primarily with Black people, is indifference. Some people just don't want to fool with you. Some people, it's not that they have anything necessarily against you. Maybe they do. They just don't want to deal with you. And a lot of Black, especially Black women, this need for validation, attention, whether it be in their life and their workplace, to always just be loud and loud in charge, seen. I need to be seen. Even that with those comments, I need a seat at the table. I've never ever, I've never heard a Black woman just say one thing when it comes to just productivity. I'm going to go to work, and the only thing I care about is just the work. It's just the work. Even just hearing you, Callie Nola, the fact you know so much about your coworkers, like some of the things that you're saying, like how to even know this much about your
I can explain that. I can explain that. Mostly within my career, I have worked for smaller companies that have a very family-like environment. So we meet each other's families, we meet each other's kids, we go on trips together, we have picnics, we have luncheons. That is the environment of the companies that I have worked at pretty much my entire career. I don't work for large corporations. I'm going to be honest. I find, especially as a Black person, it's a little bit better for me to work with people that kind of want to have that old-fashioned company environment, because I do have friends that have worked for large corporations that one of them suing for discrimination. Another one told me something that was so insane, I could not believe somebody would do that at work.
Right.
So, I mean, and another one who is an attorney, and she actually was in charge of sort of like this diversity education. And she said, I never knew that people were this racist in America. She's from the Caribbean. And she literally told me, she said, I never, ever knew that racism was on this level in this day and age until I got this job.
Wow. Let's listen at this real quick, ladies, because it's right on what you're talking about. And I saw it this morning. I was like, oh, hell no. But this is speaking to the people that come to our country and look like us. And she's a doctor, obviously, in America. And this is an interaction that she had with Black Americans.
Yeah, you are on quesos. Who knows what the heck you doing? And you right. You right. You right. You right. You ain't. That's you. You right. People ask. Look at you. You right. Go get your ass and get yourself a job. You right.
Ugly ass.
You get out of your boat. You ugly slave.
Talking about you talking about a prostitute bitch. You wear some motherfucking booties with some motherfucking with some tap dance shoes.
You are a slave. Get the fuck out of my place. You are a slave. Look at you, a dog. A dog, you living on quesos, living on people's tax money and coming here and giving you man. Get your ass out and go get yourself a job. You bitch. All of you guys, you are a bitch, okay? You bitch. Yeah. You guys, you bitch. Oh yes. Oh yeah. You are.
So she's calling Black people in America slaves. She's telling them that they're basically saying stereotypes about Black people. Yeah, so something's about to happen to her services, because this is all over the intranets today.
I hope so. I hope
yeah,
people don't give her, well, she's Black, she gets a pass like they did with Kanye. I really hope. They gave
what's going to happen, Larja? What's going to happen is that this woman is an East African woman. The question is, what is the encounter that she had with the Black American person? She's an East African woman. So what happened? So they just came into, this is a medical office. She's a doctor. She's a practitioner. She practices medicine. And so this doctor just started yelling, like, because there's more to the story. And like I said, and actually you're here in this country. Somebody is the majority, which is Black America. What exactly, the majority of the minority being Black immigrants, the 1 in 10, to the majority of the Black population in the United States is 90% Black people, like Black American people who come from 10 cities, Black people from, California, the Northeast, Detroit, etc., the South, Houston, Dallas. So if 90% of the population comes from the United States, what exactly happened to this woman that she would react to several other Black people as such in her office? And she's
Well, I think first of all, this
Could it
this
be?
idea
Could it
of
be that this is how she is, and she's been waiting to say something like that to some Black people because she said it with her whole chest, and she
Yeah.
has her camera out, and she doesn't care, and she repeated it and repeated it and repeated it and repeated
Mhm.
it and repeated it. So it's obviously something that she didn't even need alcohol to help her tell the truth about. So I feel like this is what was in her heart, and even if it was a slight trigger, this is what was in her heart.
Larja, there's so much, Larja, there's more to this
But I
story.
also think this
And I also
idea
need to
of
be
other
found
Black
out. It's going to
people.
be reported as someone has mentioned, because she does practice, so it's going to be mentioned, especially to the board. And then slowly but surely, a lot of the interaction with Black immigrants and Black African, like this is one example. This is one example. There's another example of a young woman, a young Black American woman who went into a African hair braiding salon, went into their business, and something happened. He starts accusing them of discrimination and wanting to, you're supposed to teach me how to get my hair done because you don't hire Black Americans. That's discrimination. I'm going to report you. So you're going to go into somebody else's business and this erupts. That's perfectly fine. It's her business, and she's also a practitioner. You want to go into someone's business. It's her business. Kelly, you know what? I'm sure you're going to have all types of stories and explanation. But the fact is, whatever happened is going to be coming to fruition.
No, that's still job discrimination. And I think, I think the problem that we are having.
It's job discrimination. Somebody has a business. They have to teach you and hire you. Black American women in HR, please hire more Black immigrants.
Where you will not hire people because of their ethnicity, that is discrimination, and they are getting away with that. Versus if this was a white woman, she would not.
Absolutely. You make a great point, Kelly Nola. And this also needs to apply to corporate America in HR with the Black American women who work there. Are Black American women hiring enough Black women? Because if there's more than just Black American women who work and are qualified. So if a Black American woman who is a single mother who is not who already it's been measured that her productivity is not at the expectation of the company. So she cannot be fired, but another, like a Black immigrant woman or a Caribbean woman who is performing and exceeding past the expectation, past the average, she can, she's going to receive abuse, or it can be justified that she receives abuse. Because
I'm
first,
not saying that at all.
It has everything to do with it. The vast majority of corporate America is Black American people. Black American people. When you look into healthcare, you do see a lot more Black immigrant people in healthcare. Or not that there's more Black immigrants as compared to Black Americans, but you do see just a large population. But the population is still significantly smaller than to Black Americans. Black Americans is always the majority for everything in this country. Everything.
I'm gonna be
have access to the money and have access to federal funds. Federal funds goes through Black America first and foremost. This woman who, remember, she's here with, she more than likely accepts Medicaid. She probably does. She's doing family medicine.
From slaves. She accepts it from slaves.
From who?
That's what she's calling the Black people, that they were on benefits and they're slaves.
I think
my only thing with this,
off her money. This is the money that she's receiving. It's being signed off by these quote unquote slaves. Everything that she's receiving is coming from these quote unquote slaves.
Yeah,
that's it. So then she's going to have to deal with that. So let the truth of whatever occurred here come out. At the end of the day, all the money, hiring, managing, even getting into medical school, there's a very good chance that her application and her scores came across a Black person's desk, a Black American's desk at some point. Because it's not just white people. Black American people are in leadership positions for whatever reason. And it's now even getting more so in the service industry level. You're seeing especially with this administration, Biden, so many Black women, these are Black American women, they are receiving funding and are receiving prime assignments. I just met a woman who is Black American to the hilt. she's actually basically like the project manager to move the entire country 5G. I'm sitting down watching her sit next to Biden. And then he left within like a few minutes, just said hello, shook her hand, went about his way. So you have a Black American woman who basically is on a very close basis with Biden and is doing incredible work, not BS work. You're in charge, like you are actually responsible for this deliverable and doing it on time. And you have a team, and you have a budget, and you have funding. So like you can go. I think it's a great idea.
I'm not trying
to show what how everybody is interacting. She's a Black immigrant woman, and this is her interaction with. She's a Black immigrant woman. I mean, look at her name. She's a Black immigrant woman, or she's first generation. And now it's showing her interaction, and this is not the first time. So let this come out more in the public sphere and social media, so it can be very clear that there already is. Clearly there's animosity, if you want to say that word. So like the 10%, quote unquote,
is it animus?
No, not animosity. No, animus. I think like that's the adjective. Animosity being the noun.
Okay.
I think animus is the adjective. Yeah. Yeah. So there is with the 90% with 10%. So this is let social media, let all of this come out in social media. So she clearly is a problem. There's gonna be some sort of discipline. And then the truth of what happened is
so.
Because before that was a African, like a Senegalese woman in an African braiding hair salon. This is a medical practitioner who also receives money from federal government. So whatever happens, there's going to be some sort of review.
But historically, what I've seen happen with these cases, when it's another Black person, it is not taken seriously, and it is not looked at as though a white woman would have done this. The person that this happened to even pursues anything. They might just give her a pass because she's Black.
And this is what happens with HR and Black people in the workplace. A Black American can abuse an African woman. Nothing's going to happen. Absolutely nothing. Plus, Black American women are in HR. So maybe this should be the response. Maybe Black immigrants need to respond like this. Because when it happens to Africans and Caribbeans and other Black immigrants, it's so accepted to just be this abusive. So maybe it's time for there to be reciprocated action.
I don't understand how we got
the best move to do.
The workplace abusing Black immigrants. But I will say about these Black women in HR, from what I've personally seen, yes, they're there, but they ain't the boss. They have a boss ahead of them, and it's usually always a white person.
Always.
And the white person's going to do what? They're going to be objective and say, stop abusing the African immigrant?
No, but I think that the white person stops the Black lady from hiring.
No, they do not. 100% not. Whenever there's issues, exactly what you just said, Callie Nola, whenever there's issues amongst Black people, nothing is ever done. And that goes on both sides. So let nothing be done to this African woman. Because whenever it happens on the other side, nothing is ever done. So maybe this is how I think move forward. Let all this Black, like this, or as you said, large, like animus behavior, animus feelings, allow the animosity to just come through naturally and honestly. And let's just all take it to social media, because nothing has ever been done. Whenever the majority Black people, there's one immigrant to like 5. I mean, it's one immigrant to, and this is all immigrants, to 9 Black Americans, there's one immigrant. The numbers are so.
But you know what? You're not counting the people that are classified as Latino, or the people that are classified as Indian, but maybe phenotypically look like a Black person. See, I think this is why we're starting to have issues, because our country has become so diverse. For hundreds of years, it was just us.
Going to care. Do you know how many white people? I mean, you're a parent from your background. So you're really saying that white people really care or know the difference, or they care?
Oh, yes, they do.
They care.
Can I just tell you something? They know the difference
because they have an Indian culture.
And a biracial one. They know it right off.
I don't know. I kind of feel like, let me just say this. I kind of feel like the people that created. I kind of feel like the people that created the system of racism to uphold their fake supremacy, need to be dealt with also. The internal turmoil within our own culture, yes, that also needs to be addressed, but it's not a before the system is taken down kind of thing. I feel like if anything, it needs to be, it could need to be tandem. I also feel like unless the system itself is obliterated, then whatever residual will still be really heavy. Because outside the system of white supremacy, even Black people with the proper amount of healing and therapy could heal within our cultures, but leftover slave shit also drives internal racism, external colorism, and all of the things within our own community. And that has yet to be addressed. I don't know. I feel like blaming victims, which is what Black people are of racism in this country historically, isn't really beneficial because it doesn't deal with the problem and the purveyors of the racist systems. I don't really know what else to say about it, but me and my husband have to go to the freaking bank. I really love this conversation. I love my voice twin. I love Callie Nola. I love Emmanuel sent me some stuff. I love Lemare. I love Mademoiselle Bianca. This was a robust conversation. You know I love robust. Sebastian even tuned in from his sabbatical. And I just love that everybody came through. I think I had a noob in the house. There was a noob in here that I didn't. Zelene was in the house. Tropical Punch Kool-Aid. I think that might be a noob. Thanks for coming through. Who else is up in her? And we can come back. You know, I love keep on talking to you guys, but I do have to go run and make this run. And thank you for your guys' thoughts and input. I really value it because without full conversations where point of views are welcome and we get to like hear with open ears, we might not agree, but at least we heard a different point of view that might influence our interaction with the next person. And it's all about connecting. And you know what else it's all about? It's going out and getting what's yours, and there's enough to go around. So I hope that you go get what's yours because there's more than enough to go around, you guys. Curvies, smash my buttons on the way out. Smash the like button, smash the subscribe button, and ring my bell. Ring my bell so you can get notified when I upload a video. Okay, y'all, I'll see you in the next one.